Yes, hello everyone. It is a little bit confusing because this is actually Stephen's channel, but it's supposed to be my idea. So I'm sort of hosting my show on his channel, and actually he has control of. He could actually kick me off if he wanted to, but I'm sure it won't happen because I'll be perfectly behaved. So hello, everyone. Thank you, Stephen, for joining me again on Koraniyule. You were also last year's guest, and I hope we don't
Yes.
get confused in our roles because when I was talking to Thomas the other day, he sort of
Yes.
found himself taking over, reading the chat, wanting to read the questions, telling me what was going on, and I was quite happy to let him do it because you just wonder what people are going to do, and it was like it was enough to have him on my channel, and I kind of sort of owe it to you because it was only because I saw him on your channel that I thought, you know, I'm going
Yes.
to challenge Thomas to come on my channel, and I bet he won't come, and then I can mock him for being a coward, and but then he
Yes.
came on, and I thought it went quite well. What did you think, Stephen?
Yes, I thought it went well too. You had like what, 50 or 60 viewers over there, which was exciting.
Yes, I mean, I have such a clunky old computer that I didn't dare even sort of change the thing because then the picture would disappear. And so I was just looking at the thing. I couldn't read the chat. But anyway, it's actually okay because towards the end, after the stream was over, I could actually respond to the questions in the chat at leisure, and deal with them better. So I kind of like this
Yes.
setup for Odyssey,
Mm.
and
Why couldn't you
enough.
stream directly toward it from? Oh, you couldn't stream from StreamYard because you've used up all your free time. That's right, isn't it?
Yes, and you were telling me
Yes.
the same thing happened to you too.
Yes. If anybody doesn't know, I had to buy StreamYard just before I had Thomas Barnreese on because obviously that was my big show of the year, basically getting Thomas on. I'm responsible for bringing Thomas Barnreese back to the internet. It's very exciting. I did it, made it happen. Bit of teamwork
Woohoo!
with Hexagram 33 there, but um, I'm gonna own it. I was a big part of it, and so. But when it came down to it, I'd used up all my free Streamyard time talking to David, so I like panicked the day of the stream, and I had to buy Streamyard. So that was a little behind the scenes stuff there.
Yes, but I quite like this sort of lava flow thing that you're showing. Maybe you want to kind of show off StreamYard's features. Is there anything else we should know about to make it worth our while getting StreamYard? I mean, I just refuse on principle to pay because well,
Yes.
but
Well,
I
you can
do
have
like
custom
this.
backgrounds. You can have so you can have videos in the background. I could add a video and have a background video playing. I've not even tried that yet. I don't know how interesting this is for our audience, by the way, but we might as well. This is just going to be a chill show, everybody. Claire and I talk to each other all the time. Um, so you can also add custom images to the background, like we were playing with before the show started. We can have up to 12 guests, I think,
Mm-hmm.
at the current time. You've got all the recording function, stuff like that. So,
I like the
I
title
mean,
thing that I can call myself founder of secular Quranism and that
yes.
sort of thing. So yeah, they're certainly jazzing it up. And so, apart from paying for StreamYard,
Yes.
what are the milestones of your year? Because Karani Yule is really about the guest, and since you were on Karani Yule last year, um, would you like to give us a review of your year?
A review of my year. Well, I made it, didn't I? I made it to 1,000 subscribers. That was exciting. Shall we take a look at SJJ's achievements here? We can share it for the world here. Here we are. This is my channel dashboard here. Am I sharing it? I think I am.
Yes, yes, I can see it.
I got 250,000 views on my channel 2 weeks ago. That was exciting. I got 1,024 subs now. That's 122 in the last 28 days. A lot of these basically from Thomas.
I gained 26 subscribers.
Basically
Thomas,
from
I'm sure.
Thomas. Yeah, he's
Yes.
the big dog in the room, basically. Swinging his big dick around, handing out those subs. But the thing is, I've always said this. It's the only way to grow, really, anymore in the game. Unless you get collaborations with bigger people, it's really hard to grow organically anymore. I mean, everybody says this. The people who are on YouTube from the start recognize that they had a golden opportunity that just isn't there. I mean, in some way, this is like externalizing our own failures and saying where like you do. You claim you're being suppressed by external forces, and it's not really your own failings. And I don't necessarily like to do that, but there is some truth to it as well. That it's just not as easy as it used to be.
Yeah, we have to be more careful and and then more creative about how we do things. And well, the rules are changing all the time, and I guess it can be quite fun getting around the rules. But of course, we need collaborators. Even before the censorship. We need to get ourselves into a group, and then we need to, talk about each other and talk about, just have this sort of, half collaboration, half conflict, and be the characters in a soap opera. Do you feel yourself to be a character in a soap opera?
I think so. Yes, I think I am. Yes. I'm a character in a soap opera. I don't think people come to me for the hot takes. Look, that I realised this the other day as again, I do a stream about UK politics, and some people want to watch that, but I do like a stream about just like some mindless drama or something, or just some mindless anecdotal stuff to do with the distant right, or even just like myself, and people would rather watch that than watch the politics stuff.
Yes, I mean, I was talking to Khaled, and he was saying his favourite streams were always, hardly anybody watches it, and it's a bit like photography. I used to be quite a keen photographer, and then you take pictures and you really love them, and you show them to the subject, and the subject says, "I look awful," and then you show it to the subject's husband, and she doesn't look very glamorous, but it's sort of, but I got her, I got it in one, this kind of. I suppose a photographer is a kind of like a hunter for the perfect moment that represents the characteristic pose of whoever, that anybody knowing them will say, yes, that is Stephen, he's always doing whatever, and that sort of thing. And I thought, wow, I really got it in one. It would be, if I was playing golf, a hole in one. But the thing is, nobody cared. It's like, she wasn't looking very glam, and whatever. So yeah, I guess it's all subjective. But the important thing, I find is well, to enjoy what you're doing, because I mean, it would just be so awful to do so much of this and hate it. And I guess you don't, you can't do it if you hate it. And we do have a kind of community. And yesterday, am I talking too much about myself? But anyway, I'll just finish this about Thomas. You have this thing about talking about somebody, and you feel that well, you know, that they're there, you know, they're there to be complained about and criticised and whatever, and then you get this kind of slanging match thing, which actually helps the viewers, helps the views. So
Are you saying that drama is good for views, basically? Gossip and drama is good for views. Is that the point you're making? Yeah.
yes, but I think it has to be
Yeah.
organic. I mean, you know, sometimes, I mean, I've been asked, like, wait, are you fighting with Jen on purpose, or are you two just play fighting?
Yes.
You know, that kind of thing. It's like, no, there's enough weirdness without having to go, you know, make it up.
Yes. So, look, everybody knows that conflict creates interest, and I think it's one of the failings of the distant right when they put up the shields and closed ranks and started to go, basically, you know, all insular, and they ostracized people who were fighting with it, like infighting stuff, and there was this prevailing view that got pushed out that people who would argue amongst each other were bad for the movement, and that we couldn't be seen to be disagreeing. We've got too many enemies out there, that we shouldn't be bickering amongst ourselves. But really all that did was make for like a stifling atmosphere, a suffocating atmosphere. People can see it. People can see, they can sense out there that like I hate to call it the movement, whatever it is, the community, that it's become something different. That it's morphed from being the group, the pocket, the community on the internet that used to have all the arguments and win all the arguments, wasn't afraid of all the arguments, used to start the arguments and finish them, and then it's morphed into something else, a hug box, a safe space, and I feel that this really sucked the life out of what it used to be in those, like, like the, I hate to go, it's almost like a cliche now to go back and say, like, the Warski days, the Warski live days, but the scene that grew up around all that, it somehow it got away from being that. Somehow it became this hug box movement, and there's certain people who are more responsible for creating that. There's people who tone policed the community. There's people who would go around acting like Karens and saying you shouldn't be doing this and you shouldn't be doing that. You're not. You shouldn't be in the movement, and things like this. And whilst I believe it's done in good faith, that they don't think they're doing the wrong thing at the time, like I say, it creates a less organic, more suffocating, less engaging movement that people can sense out there. You can sense it, and people don't seem to be themselves. People are walking around on eggshells and afraid to say what the fuck they actually want to say. Do you agree, Claire Core?
Well, yes, I was actually shocked when Thomas. Sorry, I keep dropping his name, aren't I? But he did. He said quite a few things to you, like he was talking about. Oh, I couldn't be on Millennial because I couldn't agree to his conditions, and one of the major conditions was I can't criticise any of the other guests, and I thought I
Yeah.
wouldn't be able to agree to that condition either, you know. And I was kind of playing around on his Substack, and I just asked a question, and he came down on me like a ton of bricks. It's like, Claire,
Who's Millennial Woes?
yes, yes. And I just asked a, well, slightly
When
impertinent
was this?
question on his Substack, maybe about, maybe 2 months ago or
Years ago.
something.
Oh, I thought you meant years ago.
Well, I've
Okay.
known him for years, really. I mean,
Yes.
Koraniyule came into being in 2018, and that was a few years after I realised he's never going to let me on, and it's so fuck him, and I'll start my own, take of him, and I think it's only just sort of beginning to take off, and the last 2 days, two people have said, I prefer Koraniyule. And I thought, oh, that's so nice to hear. Just so nice to hear.
Well, look, I mean, there's a couple of things about this. When you create a product and you do something that's successful, you make something that you're proud of, and other people are proud of it, other people like it, and then you repeat it and you improve upon it. I'm referencing Millennial Woes as Millennial here. Okay, so when the first incarnation of Millennial was just like loads of StreamYards hangouts over Christmas period. Do you remember it, Claire?
Well, yes, he seemed to be, permanently online, yeah, streaming.
It was just, I don't know if he was just like throwing the link out there in the chat. But basically, it was just a bunch of interviews over Christmas, and they were amateur done. But that's what started it off. Then, as you do something again, you want to improve upon it, and so you put more effort into it. But with each refinement, you create something that is, by like design, less organic, and that shows. Now, it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it becomes more of a polished. The word isn't commercial, but it becomes more of a pre-packaged thing, doesn't it? And it's different to how it started. It's not necessarily a bad thing. It's a good thing, in fact, but it's different.
Well, it's the graphics, it's like, yeah, I know he went to art school and everything, and, he did the fonts and the design and all that, and it's, become his trademark, and of course I can't compete, and I don't particularly want people to see me, looking sincere and concerned and Scottish or whatever, so, I can never do that, but I think, it's really the quality of the dialogue that matters.
He puts so much effort into like you said, the presentation of it. This is the thing, right? That Millennial Woes, it's the problem, like that he began to suffer with before he lost his YouTube channel. I'm not even having a go at him for this. It's inevitable, really. I'm suffering it, even at like 1,000 subscribers, feeling like that I should put on some kind of performance for people, that I should put on some kind of more polished production whenever I go live. And really, it's not. It's like the wrong thing to think. You should think that people like tune into you because you're like this amateur person. But when there's more eyes upon you, more people are watching, you have a bigger audience, people have expectations. It's a natural aspect of it. I don't even know where I'm going with this.
Well, it's your personal development, isn't it? It's about, for example, whether you become a secular Koranist or not,
Oh. Ding, 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 ding. Bingo. Cross that one off your cards, please. Full house here.
Or
I
whatever,
know.
you do something, you fall in love, you get married. It's sort of like con up saying, I'm married now, that kind of thing. So people are interested in you as a character, and if you decide to come out as gay or whatever it is, I'll go, ooh, more viewers,
Yes, well,
that
that'll
sort
be
of thing.
never be happening for me. Thank you very much.
Okay.
However, I remember where I was going with this. It's that like feel like he'll never have me on Millennial, and that's
No,
because
I have contaminated your brand.
there's a bar now to entry. Basically, there's a bar to entry that didn't used to be there before,
But there
and
are a bunch of fuddy-duddies. I had to look at the list. What a
yes,
bunch of
yes, I get you.
fuddy-duddies.
Yes, it's not just a bar. This is the problem. It's a set of bars that are now there to entry, and so there's going to be obviously the whereas it wasn't previously before, like you could bring somebody on who like a total amateur and they could like totally crash out, be a total disaster, and it wouldn't matter to like the whole show. Now, if Millennial Woes has one bad guest on, he feels like it was an unmitigated disaster and he's let everybody down. And so there's that bar to entry. I think you'd pass that. You certainly are like well established now that you can hold yourself on a stream. But the other bars to entry are like this like acceptability standard that you have to pass. This, and then there's a bar to entry of like, are you somebody who's fallen out with like
Any of the
other
other
people,
guests?
any of the other people, or something like this, or there's these multiple bars of entry.
Are you likely to mention secular Keranism? If so, you're out.
Yeah.
Well, I
Look,
don't
I
know.
mean, I don't blame Woes for not having you on, but I really like this. The ship's probably sailed. It's never going to happen, unless probably Claire Core, you listen to SJJ, you listen to his very informed words of advice, follow the words of advice I've been giving you, and you have like this incredible 2024 year. And by the time that like October, November's coming around next year, he can't ignore you. You've become this rising star that's just unavoidable.
And he wants to come on Koraniyule.
Well, I don't think he'd ever bend the knee.
But the question, if you won the lottery, Stephen, would you still be streaming?
Yes, I think so, actually. So I enjoy it at the moment.
Yes. And I think
I mean, it certainly doesn't pay the bills. Certainly not paying any bills. And I never, I never expect it to. Could never do that. But so actually, just as so this is something I've asked myself this year. Why am I doing it? And I still don't know the answer to that.
it's a behavioural addiction. I mean, I've admitted it to myself. Well, I think it's
I
sort of work.
I
For
think
me,
I
anyway.
like Oliver Cromwell saying, yeah, he can see some potential in me. I've certainly come a long way from where I was before. I'm I'm a totally different person to just like less than a year ago. You go and look at my streams. I even joked that my balls have dropped again somewhere along in the year. I don't even sound the same. I don't know what's happened.
Your
But
voice has gone deeper.
something happened. I don't know how that can happen at this point in my life. But somehow it's happened. I'm something's changed. So I think what I'm trying to say is I'm interested in the potential of what I could do eventually. Basically, yeah.
Yeah, it's a video diary of your personal and political development, Stephen. And, maybe this was some sort of synthesized in a way that can be entertaining with all the highlights and whatever. It could be a very interesting slice of social history.
Well, I wouldn't go that far. Slice of social history. What the fuck?
Well,
Just
I
me
guess
talking into a
future
camera.
generations would want to, what were people in the early 21st century like? What were young men like? And, whatever. I mean, if I become famous, then it's like, oh, and, all the people, would kind of say, oh, well, we knew her, and she was like this, and she said that on one occasion, and whatever. My Jen Sharf interviews, I thought they were hilarious. I mean, of course, I'll never be able to repeat that because, well, there's nobody, like her, as crazy as her. But
Sorry,
you kind of
who
pass through
what? Sorry.
life with meeting different characters that you interact with.
Who are you
Sorry.
talking about there? Sorry,
I,
you
I
dropped
guess
out.
I'm saying it is a record of personal and political development as well as a record of the characters you interact with, and some of them can be
Yes.
quite unusual.
Yeah. Look, I'm still very nervous when I'm talking to other people who I've not spoken to before. Like, speaking to you now, Clay, it's just like, this is so easy for me. I don't care. I don't care at all. I'm not nervous. But even speaking to you on Last Millennial, I remember being nervous. I remember like probably being a terrible stream last year. Very wooden. I wouldn't ever want to watch it back. So, yeah, this is something I've not gotten over yet.
You'll just get more polished the more you do it, really. And it'd be quite. It's sort of like if it were kept, if we did sort of 10 millennials or something like that, and you had a record of each year, I mean, I think that'd be quite fun as a kind of milestone of your personal development, If we probably did a review of the year thing, and then it'd be a, well, sort of diary record thing of our personal development as well as the political events that we would be commenting on.
Yes. Have you ever managed to be able to read the chat and maintain a thought in your head at the same time, or do you just not, or do you have
I
to
mean,
ignore the
sometimes
chat?
I kind of remember to look at the chat, but
Every time I
haven't
start
been.
reading it,
Yeah,
every time
I'm
I
going to
start
start
reading
reading
it,
it now.
I lose my train of thought as soon as I start reading. So that's something that's difficult. Did you see JF Gariepi gave me some advice on his stream?
I missed that bit.
Yeah, I did a video about it the other day. I didn't
What did you
realise
think?
that some of JF's super chatters are also viewers of mine. But somebody super chatted JF Gariepi and said, "There's this young streamer in the United Kingdom he's on the precipice of giving up his old life to become a right-wing commentator. And do you have any advice for him?" And JF basically said, make sure that you don't need any fucking money or something, because the moment that you start doing this, you have to be able to like live with nothing, basically, and that kind of thing. And then some stupid advice about Bitcoin.
So, his Mama JF has not been found, has she?
That wasn't my super chat, grossly, by the way. Mama JF, oh, we're doing the Mama JF segment. Okay, Mama JF has not turned up yet, no. Do you have any thoughts, Claire, on where she is?
Well, I mean, the police have this rule, like, if somebody disappears and they haven't been found within a certain period, they might be dead.
Yeah, I think she's just schizo. Look, I wouldn't have thought this if I hadn't been exposed to the Cube before. But being part of that group on Telegram has really opened my eyes to now understand, like, what this type of, like, schizophrenic personality type is like. And you know yourself, just being in the company of Jack, yeah?
It fills me with self-loathing.
Well, I know that you hate him. You learn to just, like, tune it out. It's like white noise after a while, and you don't even really notice it. Or, I mean, you
Just
see
scrolling
him
past
post.
his videos,
Yes,
talking about
yes.
nothing.
Yeah.
And the pity of it is that he went to a good school, he went to a good university. It's like so it's even more of a waste.
Yeah, but the point that I'm making is being there and seeing. I'd never been seeing somebody like that. I'd never been exposed to characters like this before, ever, ever in real life or ever on the internet at all. So they're just like this schizo personality type. Is just something that, like, I'd heard about before. But when you actually do experience it and you see, like, wow, this is a type of personality, and, like, these people really are probably just uncontrollable. They're not real, like, they're semi-aware. They're kind of semi-aware of what's going on, but yet they're also, in another way, like, high functioning. Like, they're fully fluent and conversive and...
You know
Like
what
they-
I'd like to do to him?
Yes.
Dogs have this sort of collar that you can make them wear, and you can press a button to give them an electric shock. Well, I like him to wear that collar, and every time he says a word that,
want to torture
makes
him?
a sentence that doesn't make sense, I would zap him. And then he would stop, because you can see he can't stop it. He just has to, get our attention. And even if he has nothing sensible to say, he has to, say something. And it's like you zap them. Every
can't
time they
condone
make a
that.
sentence that is incoherent or nonsensical, you zap them. And then eventually they'll get it.
I don't think I can condone torture or anything like that.
Just
We can't.
instruction and training.
Look, I don't think there's any changing that type of behaviour, to be honest. It is what it is.
No, I think there's a lot of weird behaviour that has not been addressed. I mean, for grown-ups, people my age, I don't even want to say how old I am, but I think you do have a lot of unaddressed issues that maybe your parents should have addressed decades ago. What is wrong with you? And it seems that, I mean, do you think there's a lot of mental illness around, Stephen?
There is, absolutely. Yes. I don't like that term mental illness, to be fair. It's mainly women, though, Claire, let's admit it. It's mainly women.
Well, I would agree. Well, women suffering from it, or men suffering from mental illness because of women. Maybe a bit of both.
I mean, to be fair, the Cube gives a bad... It's a bad statistical view of men, really. Because usually it's women who are the absolute schizos. And this comes back to Mama JF. We know that from that episode of when No White Guilt appeared on the show and she had this meltdown, we can see in that where she saw no white guilt and she believed that he was some other guy who was trying to kill her, basically.
But
We
JF
know,
had
therefore...
sex with her, and Saya offspring through her? He did, didn't he?
Yes.
Is that why she's called Mama?
Yes. So,
Well, I think that's terrible and disgraceful.
that's easy to say, but the problem is, Claire, if that's all that he could get, then
No, but that's a terrible thing to say, Stephen. How can you just say, oh,
look,
I've had to spread
she
my
was a nice
seed?
woman. I feel bad even saying that's all he could get. Like that's a real put
No, he
down,
probably chose her
a real
because she was
neg
a
on her.
bit dim. That's why I think it's so
No, she
awful.
chose him actually. She chose him. We know this because we know the history that she'd become obsessed with him and Richard Spencer. But she lived in Montreal, and so she was going around with this kind of spray painting the names Jean-Francois Gariepi and Richard Spencer on walls in Montreal. And then she got in touch with JF when he said he'd split up with his current girlfriend on the internet, and he did the honourable thing in taking her in, basically. I think we could say. But if you're of the opinion, like let's say you're JF Gariepi and you've had a run-in with like a series of pretty crazy ladies over time, then your general opinion would be, well, all women are fucking nuts. This one is just a little bit more nuts. So like they're on the spectrum of how crazy the average woman is. This one is just like 5% more towards like the schizo end of things, and so it might not actually be so radical compared to all like the other women he didn't had interactions with. I don't believe that he had had like 2,000 girlfriends in the past, had sex with over 2,000 women like he claims. I think that's just an outrageous lie. That's like the you say a lie so big that everyone will believe it. I think that's that type of lie. It's just outrageous, absolutely ridiculous. I don't know why more people don't call that out. So I think
we
he's
don't
probably
believe your body count of 2,000.
yeah, it's just absolutely ridiculous as that. So I think if he's just had a string of crazy women in his life, she's not much different. He can handle. He felt like he could handle it. It didn't work out.
But he should have known that he couldn't really control somebody who can't understand instructions. I mean, I can understand a man thinking, I want a quiet, not very bright woman who will just admire me and, do what I ask. But
There aren't any
at
of
the end of the
those.
day, he
There
didn't
aren't
even
any
get
of
that.
those. You can't get those anymore. Those are like an archetype from like World War II, and you don't get those anymore. I don't know what happened, but in the modern day, in my generation, probably also in Jeff's generation, those don't exist anymore. So we're just left with crazies, unfortunately.
Why
And we
don't
have to
men
pick
just...
amongst them.
Okay, well, I think men could take control by starting a marriage bureau and say, this is the kind of wife we'd like, and then you just write down your preferences and whatever, and then and then women interested might come along and say, yeah, I think we can we
What
might be
kind of a world are
complementary.
you living in?
No, I just
Seriously.
think it would be funny, and then of course you get nowhere. Nobody, it's like
Look.
you want a not very who do the housework and who won't
Absolute
talk
fact.
back,
No.
and
Look,
that would be
Bianchi's saying.
then we're not gonna get married, and we're not gonna sire children, and the race will die, and that's how it's gonna be because we can't get the kind of women we want. Right?
Bianchi's saying here that they're all in Norway.
What?
All the good women are in Norway. All the sane women are in Norway. So maybe we're going to have to go to Norway.
Surely they're worse there. Like Scandinavian women have been known to be more promiscuous than
Oh, come off it.
Western.
Surely
No,
not.
no, no. I mean, okay, okay, mate. I'm a bit older than you, and I've heard men talk about Scandinavian beauties, and then some would say, oh,
Yes,
they just take
absolutely.
their knickers off in a quite mechanical way. There's no excitement at all, so they've been really really bad, and now we've become as bad as they have. So I think that's the situation.
Look here, I knew you were gonna trigger Biarki off here. How dare this? non- How dare this non-white jungle woman slander?
Slaughter our women.
I knew that was going to happen. Look, look, I don't know what planet Biarki's living on now, but like he's a different generation to me. Obviously, we're just left with the crazes. I don't know what to tell you. No, maybe it's like the accumulation of the birth control pill in the water or something. But this generation of women, there's only crazes left to pick from.
Well, I think this is the most effective, but passive form of political activism. I know you guys aren't up to much, but you can just sort of maybe form a club and say we're not going to marry until no fault divorce is abolished, and that's how it's going to be. And then we'll just watch you guys grow old because nobody will care that about no fault divorce, because no man is really interested in marrying a virgin bride, like your ancestors were so keen on. And it is because nobody will care enough to think in the long term. That's why nothing will be done, and that's why the race will die. And I'm thinking, but it's actually quite easy for you guys to do. You just sort of say, "Oh, I'm going to get married," and actually, nobody's going to marry you anyway. So, but you can see, but you can still sort of make a political point of it and say, well, we're not going to get married until no fault divorce is abolished, and men should join us because a point of principle, a eugenic point of principle is being made here, and if we all have to die childless, then this is our legacy, and we said it first, and we drew attention to this horrible state of gender relations that will destroy our civilization.
Look, I don't know if
You're not
I
even
don't
going to
know.
do that. I know you're not even going to do that. Even if it's a
Look,
completely passive form of resistance, you're still not going to do that.
I look. This is like some fantasy of yours anyway. You're trying to get political here, but what I was trying to say is, look, I don't even know if marriage is even an institution that exists in my generation anymore.
It's
It's
become
just
optional
yes, it has. It's
when it should be
negligible even.
compulsory.
Negligible, optional, probably just not even happening. Look, Oliver Cromwell agrees with me. Every woman he's met is bipolar. So I think he's close to my age.
Well, I think men of previous generations just assumed that women are stupid and crazy, but they took control. But actually, your attitude and the attitude of your chat suggests that patriarchy was a terrible burden on men, and that's why you don't want to do it. So, because you're basically saying, well, we'd rather die. Really, we'd rather race become extinct than marry a woman of our race, even if one could be found. We would rather die, and that I think is quite telling, isn't it? About how much stuff needs to prop up
Well,
patriarchy.
I don't think you realise how. Look, I think you're stuck in a totally different generational
No, I'm trying
worldview
to
to
save the
how
white
things are.
race, and you don't want to be saved. You're saying let us drown.
Look, you just don't realise how egalitarian things have become, how uh, I don't even know where to begin on that, Claire. I mean, what do you expect us to do?
I
What do you
expect,
expect us to do?
okay, a bit. Oh well, this is a very easy way of making our point. We're gonna, the incels are just going to become principled men who refuse to marry unless divorce is abolished. And it's like nobody can marry you anyway, but you can use your inceldom to sort of say, we're taking a principled stand and refusing to marry until I guess it's only when you get eligible bachelors saying I'm not going to marry until and make women sad. It's like, oh, he's not going to marry. I'd quite like to marry him and can't until no fault divorce is abolished. And I think
Problem is, oh, go on, finish your thought.
and I was thinking you could be the poster boy because of your milky white skin and your gem toned limbs.
Like Claire called the problem with, like, I'm not an incel, okay, but the problem with them is I've just met all crazes basically. Anyway, like the problem with incels is they're I don't know. You seem to not get the involuntary part of it. Okay, the involuntary part of it means they aren't getting any. They're not. They're not attracting any girlfriends.
Yes,
They're not
because of their
getting one.
terrible attitude. I mean, I was trying to explain to you. I had this conversation with a girlfriend during Brexit, and she didn't agree, the people who voted to leave are not doing it for the right reasons. Maybe they're racist. And then what was memorable about the conversation was that she's saying, these men, who are the majority in this country, can't even deal with a few immigrants. Well,
So what you're saying? Brown people, brown women in this country
No,
are
no, no, she
upset
was
with us
white,
for
she
not.
was white. She was white.
Oh
And,
right.
and
So
kind of politically correct. And she was saying that,
white women are wanting us to kick out more brown people. Is that what you're saying?
she's
Secretly.
saying, no, since you are the majority and already in resident here for generations, you should be able to do something about it if you don't like it. And if you can't even do that, then she's not interested. I mean,
So it's just another white woman shitting on white men, basically. Is what you're saying.
but that's how women think. It's like, well, you should be able to do something. How come you're not doing anything? And she's not interested in it. Oh, it's so difficult. We're going to get cancelled and sacked and whatever. It's like, no excuses. It's like, well, you're the majority. You're still the majority. And you're still not doing anything. There's something wrong with you. So immigration must be a good thing because you're not
Like
doing
all the
anything.
all the enforcers of the norms in society and social norms are women. We could see this when COVID happened, and yes,
They will go with the official narrative because they are women and
but
risk averse.
they're the social enforcers of it. Yes, men
Yes.
enforce it when it comes to the violent part of it, like grabbing a guy and then shoving him in the back of a police car or something, or knocking a guy out at a bar or something like that. But until that point, all the social enforcing and the Karening is done by women.
Yes.
Okay.
And they will always support the status quo. They will always go with the mainstream narrative because it suits them to be risk averse. But for you guys,
And
you have to take risks because if you behave like them, well, things will just get worse. And they'll hate you even more for being like
just
them.
just thinking about it, in many ways, I think part of this problem comes from the fact that our school systems are majority now female infested, female run. They are matriarch. If you're looking for a matriarchy, it's schools, okay?
Yes, yes, because
They're massively female teachers. It's all female staff, not the teachers. female managers, female dinner ladies, everybody is a woman. There's like 1 to 10 would be like the ratio of male to women at best. And so as we grow up, we see the people who've been telling us off, telling us what to do, what's right and wrong, all the way through life are women.
Yes, yes, and therefore the principle of separate secondary education, sex
Yes, I agree
segregated.
with you on this.
But okay, but you guys are not going to make these points because it's boring, right? It's boring. You're not going to be talking about that. And also, if you're not parents, you know, you're not going to be talking about that. But yeah, it's these boring things that need to be addressed. And well, you know, the Americans started it with their co-ed, you know, high school proms, prom kings and prom queens. And they don't get it about how actually the Chinese also have a problem, and I think they have co-ed education too. And they think, oh, our boys are getting really girly now. What's wrong with them? And it's probably being mollycoddled by being the only child in their one-child policy world.
I think something to do with also men going out to work, and allowing women to really just raise the children, kind of. What am I saying here?
Well,
I
women
suppose
have
what you're.
their work. They do have their work, and it's not being done. There's nobody to do it now because they go to work. And nobody will
I'm
say
just trying
it, you know.
to. I'm just trying to flex out this thought more about how women have become these enforcers in society that we really saw play out during COVID-19, when all the women would come out and they were the ones doing the carrying, wagging the fingers. Have you got your mask on? Look at you, shame on you, and all this kind of stuff. And they were out there being the ones ruling the roost, basically, out there. And men were like afraid to get caught by the women in the supermarket with the mask around their chin. What a sad situation. What a sad state of
And that's
affairs.
why the rules have to be changed. The status quo has to be challenged and defeated, and it means arguments have to be made against it.
But we're never putting that toothpaste back into the tube,
You
unfortunately.
don't. You just get a new tube.
Without radical revolution.
Well, we can just talk about doing it peacefully. Yes, it will be revolutionary. It will be a counter-revolution against a sex revolution, if we think about it in those terms. There was a sex revolution about 50 years ago, and the counter-revolution is now, or ought to be now. The Romans didn't address their problem. That's why it ended for them. Christianity didn't
In many
stop.
ways, I have a conflict though here, Claire, right? There's a conflict in my own mind in that I don't want to take any rights away from women. I don't want to put women like in the kitchen, and make them. I don't want to do that. I feel conflicted at this.
They might actually find it sexy if you say, right, woman. If you
Well, it'd be
want to
great to have this traditional family structure. Like if I had like a country house and we lived far away, and then like a country farmhouse wife, and could have some children, and that would just like be the natural order of things. But in society today, how it is, unless like somehow managed to get like that situation in place, it just wouldn't be that kind of relationship.
Well, we're just talking
There's
about
just
the
not those
principle of the thing.
scenarios. Like some kind of girl that I'm gonna meet at the fucking swimming pool or whatever isn't gonna be like, it's just not gonna be that kind of arrangement. Okay. It's never
Under a
happening.
secular Koranist regime, there will be a government dating
Holy shit! What the? You,
Yes,
you
and
live
it's
in
like
some
we already
fantasy
know that
world here.
most men and women
What
are
the?
unmarriageable, but there will be remedial classes in marriageability for men and women.
Holy shit!
I've got it all thought out.
We need to end dating apps. Dating apps have created this hypergamy of women. Okay, and this is probably I don't know how we put this toothpaste back in the tube without outlawing these dating apps. Okay, um, relationships have to be found out in the real world. I don't think it's
A
ever going to be
government
possible
ban. It would
to
be a
do this
government
again.
ban. And it's like only the
It
government is
yeah,
allowed to do
but it's
this
never going to
matchmaking
happen.
thing.
But it's been the
Well,
worst thing for society ever has to create these dating apps, Tinder, whatever, Plenty of Fish, whatever other ones people use. These are now just meat markets for women to go on there and just to line up dudes to come and fucking ride that cock carousel. That's all that they're doing. And this
I would
gives women
call them.
incredible. No, it's given women this incredible high opinion of themselves, where even like the ugliest, fattest, stankest women can now get a dude, okay, without any fucking effort, because no matter how bad you look, how rotten of a fucking woman you are, you can go on that app and get a guy who wants to come and fuck you without a doubt, 24/7. Okay, and that is not the same for dudes, and so it's created this. Look, I'm preaching to the choir. I think everybody knows this already. It's created this system of. It's like people say the 80-20 rule or whatever, don't they? That 80% of women are dating 20% of dudes, but I think it's even worse than that.
Which is why the principle of you can only choose once and you should choose young and you have to stick with your choice, that was what made any civilization great. It's
But
not
the problem
a
is,
lifelong sex party. I mean
but it
that's
is.
what's
It is now.
well, yeah, we just have to call the cops on the party. We have to poop the party.
I
No, you just have to say it. You can't even say it.
no,
It's
I
like,
don't.
oh,
I think
oh,
you're not
who
living
else
in
is saying
reality.
it? But obviously that's the only. It's not the Jews. It's not even immigration. It's sort of, oh, I better not be saying anything like that in case people look at me funny. I even know how
You're
bad
just
it
not living
is.
in reality.
No, I do. Look, I actually know that okay, young men like you are not going to say the sort of thing because if anybody knew that you said this and using your real name, then you won't get any dates, you won't get any sexual access. And then I went a bit further than that. I mentioned it to a man whom I knew wasn't sexually active, and he wouldn't say it either because he didn't want to offend his male friends who were sexually
Say what?
active. To say that it is our culture of casual sex that is destroying the white race, and white men are hooked on the idea that they have a human right to have sex outside marriage, which incidentally was never the
No, no,
idea
no, no,
in any of
no.
the scripture.
Wait. No, you've got it entirely the wrong way around here. It's not dudes who this problem is with. Yes, there's like 10% of dudes who are kind of in that bracket of going around and doing that. Maybe 20%. Maybe it's 20%. But hypergamy, this state where women now have access to like all the guys now are on a shelf, okay, and so they can. It's like going shopping. They can. It's like going to the supermarket, except it's online. It's on their iPad. It's on their iPhone. You can now just browse for a dude, and so they just browse all the way to the far end of the Chad shelf, and they just pick from that little shelf there, and there's this carousel of Chads going round, just doing 80% of the women basically.
Yeah, but these women, they might get a shag, but they're not going to get a husband, right? Because that's the whole point of it.
No, so what happens is they get impregnated by like Chad, and then what they do is they call up Dave when they hit 30, and they need a beta to raise, to come and raise the kid basically, which is known as the cuck phenomenon.
Well, most men don't really, well, they're not interested in a woman who has somebody else's kid in tow.
No, but it's becoming incredibly common nowadays.
Yes, I remember talking to this New Yorker who was saying, I hope that when I manage to shack up with some woman, that her brat is not too bratty. And I thought, oh my God, what low expectations in life you must have.
But to control opposition here, Conops is saying, dating apps women are more critical. It's true, but Stephen, you need to know how to use portrait mode on your phone. So he's just saying, like, you need to lux max your your pictures or something like this. You need to learn how to take the best shots or something. I've never used a dating app, so literally I've never even been on Tinder. So this isn't like personal experience I'm talking about here. I'm just talking about the general thing of it. But my problem hasn't been that. My problem is that girls are just crazy. My age, and zero of them are interested in settling down. Absolutely zero.
No, but I mean, don't worry about that. I mean, just for satirical effect. I mean, imagine if you just said, this is the sort of woman, because I think if I were a bloke, it's like this marriage contract and the terms are A, B, and C, and D, E, and F, and whatever. And the other thing is like, she has to undergo psychological assessment for suitability and sanity. Wouldn't it be funny?
Yeah, but Claire, I'm not a king. I'm not the Prince of Wales.
I know.
You can just like have these women lining up. Yeah, they're not. There's not like a long, a toilet roll list of whatever the female version of a suitor is, just waiting, and I'm interviewing them daily. That's not how it's happening.
You could do it online as a joke, part of your new personality. You're interviewing for a wife.
Conop says it's BS and plenty want to settle down. Well, I'm saying it's. I'm not. That's not happening, Conops. Yeah. Look.
Well, how about your new year thing? Interviewing for a wife. Maybe you can start a new channel.
Maybe. Look. Maybe when I become.
No. Just do it. It'll be hilarious.
Interview
and then
for
all these
a
women
wife.
will come on. They'll probably take the piss and whatever, but it'll be great. Your viewers, your subscribers will go up, and there'll be women. Your subscribers
None
will
of
be
the-
women.
No. Don't have enough female viewers for that, unfortunately.
You haven't got any. Well, me and
No, I
and
do. I do
Hexagram.
have some. I do, but
Well, we're not, potential wives for you.
well, I don't think I have like a huge crowd of single girls watching.
No, but I mean, wouldn't
the
it be
demographic.
hilarious if you did that? If you said, well, this is what I want. Please come on my channel and talk to me, and whatever, and we'll see how it goes, and what's your channel? I'll have a look to check, do a psychological check for sanity and reasonableness. I mean, you can find out quite a lot about a person just by going through their YouTube videos, right?
Collops is correct here. Yes, most of my viewers are gay, basically.
Well,
No, that's not true, but I think there are a few. I do have some women viewers, perhaps more than average, but basically what I need to do is up my profile a bit more, basically, before I could use this platform to do anything like that. I'm not at JF Ripp's
no,
level
just
yet.
say seeking a wife, interviews by appointment. Just do that. It'll be funny. Oh, come on, do it for 1 week. Just 1 week.
No, because
In the new
what
year.
about when I get 0 applications, Claire Core? That's
Then we'll
not
have
going
a
to be
good
good for my
laugh
ego.
about it. Then we'll have a good laugh about it. And Pebble Muncher can pretend to be a woman.
No, that'd be very gay. Colin Liddell says the majority of young girls would rather own their own house than have a husband.
Well, they can't just. Okay, maybe they can own a house from the proceeds of their OnlyFans.
You yourself flip-flop between this suggestion that you should withhold marriage and then seek marriage. Which one is it?
Well,
Which
you can
one
seek
should we be
marriage,
doing?
but show that you have standards and you know what you want.
Yeah, but you say we should have men should go on a marriage strike, and now you're saying they have to seek marriage. Which one is it?
Okay. I might be able to help. It's like, you can find a wife, and it's like, but she has to agree to sign a marriage contract, right? And then we can go and find a divorce lawyer. What should the basic marriage contract be? Get her to sign it. If there's any trouble later, instead of going to a divorce court, it would be have to go through arbitration. I'll be the arbitrator. Well, I mean, it sort of works in theory, and then people can go, well, what are the terms of the marriage contract? And
None
what
of
sort
this
of
stands
woman
up
would
in
agree
court
to it?
anyway.
Pardon?
It doesn't matter. None of this kind of stuff matters. It doesn't matter if you set like a prenuptial. The woman can still take you for everything that you've got when she's had enough. So this is the other angle of this hypergamous situation that we have. Okay, so if you're fortunate enough to get a woman who has a kid, or you're even fortunate enough to have a couple of kids with her, then the chances that she's going to stay with you versus tell you to get fucked, to leave, and I'm staying in the house, dear, because I'm looking at the children are here with me, and so you've got to fuck off, and what you're going to do is send me half of your wage, enforced by the court, for the rest of the 15 years that these kids are going to live
obviously
with
this
me.
is unfair, and
Yeah, this is
doesn't make
the
marriage a good
prevailing.
bargain for men.
Yeah, so
And,
this is the scenario. It's very black.
Yes, I know that. That's why fewer and fewer men are prepared to marry, and this no fault divorce has to be abolished, and this point has to be made. And just because you're looking doesn't mean you have to accept the first offer. You can just say, I'm looking, I'm still looking, I have time, but you would be
I do
able
have
to
time.
start a bit of a conversation about the subject if you're going to do it.
I'm not going to do it online, Claire, or I'm not.
No, but
Collops was right.
it'll He's
No, I'm
such a
sorry.
laugh.
Don't be silly. Look, Conop said here, look, YouTube is not the place to find a woman. 99% are men. I think my statistics are something like 95%. I have something like 5% women, which is a bit more than average, but
But but if you just sort of
it's going to be a tranny at best that turns up
that
here,
would be
unfortunately.
funny.
No, it won't.
Yes, it will.
Absolutely not.
Don't be shy. I can deal with trannies. Pebble Muncher is a tranny. I don't mind talking to him.
What?
He sounds like a tranny. There's something wrong with him.
Like, Black Pigeon Pill has noticed that I'm getting tired,
All right, all right. We've been talking
so
for.
we should invite some questions. Shall we? Does anybody have any questions? Maybe nobody has any. Maybe
I think
nobody has any.
Pebble Muncher is angling
Wanted to
to
come.
appear on Koraniyule.
Okay, well, I'll maybe if we could just have some. If anybody wants to call in, you could call in. Okay, just for the last bit. Are you up for that, Claire?
Yeah.
So there is the link. If you want to call it, now's your opportunity. If anything that we've talked about here on Koraniyule 2023, episode number 9. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, I know this isn't my show, but Claire Cord does have a YouTube channel. She is restreaming to this right now. I know most of you are watching via my channel, but I think I can get the link to Claire Cord's channel. Here it is, and I'll post it in the chat.
Thank you.
And you could go over there, and we could also get your Odyssey link, because most of the other guests who are appearing on Koraniyule, including Thomas Barn Rees, who appeared yesterday, was it? Who
Yes.
appeared on Odyssey. So let's just get that link. Here it is. We'll post that in the chat, and I'll make sure that these links go in the description to the video as well.
Very good.
So
Thank you,
did we get any?
Stephen.
Did we get any questions, Claire?
I don't. They're all silly questions.
Oh, good. Let's have a look. Is SJJ still following that Russian girl on YouTube? No, I gave up on her. Basically because it turns out she's a lesbian.
Right. How did you find out?
It just kind of became obvious.
All right.
It just kind of became obvious, I think. But, yeah. Let's forget about that.
What's your favourite kind of woman? That pigeon pilled wants to know.
By the way, I hear something at the background. I don't know if it's like our stream playing in the background.
Yeah, I think
I
it's
hear
I
Claire.
hear my voice. I hear my voice playing in the background.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Has it
that's
stopped?
Okay, it's gone now.
Sorry about that, everybody.
I still don't think it's. Yeah, now it's good. Or not? No.
It's stopped now anyway. But I
Yeah.
think Stephen should answer the question. What's your favourite kind of woman?
I like girls who look like frogs.
You prefer
that's a bit
vanilla
weird.
to chocolate?
Yeah, white girls who look like frogs, basically.
Do they? I don't think
no,
I've ever seen a
who look-
white frog.
Yeah, it's a weird phenotype, I guess.
Like
that
frogs?
kind of girl. Yes.
Like you kiss them and then they become an African princess or something like that.
It's that's kind of look. I don't know. Yeah.
I don't know why that pigeon pilled is asking me about Turkey. Has something happened with Turkey? I'm afraid I haven't. Well, I'm not aware of anything happening in Turkey.
Yeah, but I mean,
I don't
why
know.
are you not on the app, James? Why are you not on the app?
Why am I not
All the
on
women are
on
there for
Tinder?
invitation. Huh?
Why am I not on Tinder?
Yeah, Tinder, Bumble, what is it? Hello Cupid. Uh,
Hmm.
the other ones.
Um, I've never gone on. I've never gone on. Literally never. Never even looked at it. Um,
Why not? Don't you have any, like, I don't know. You're a single guy, right? Don't you have any sexual needs, shit like
no,
that?
absolutely,
Tinder looks
absolutely.
terrifying. I saw some guy's Tinder selection, and I saw those women. Okay, he was an older man, but my God, they looked frightening. There's just something so. They just look like very used prostitutes. They just had the expression. Oh, well, anyway, it was horrible. I
Look,
thought it was horrible.
I don't. I kind of don't want. Look, I've had kind of had bad experiences meeting girls who you just don't like know very well at all. I'm not into this hookup culture at all.
But dude, you need to hook up a little bit to get the one you want. You know what I mean? You need to have
Yeah, I know.
enough experience to at least be interesting enough to pull
Yeah,
a woman of a
absolutely.
certain caliber.
Mm. Yeah, I get it, but I really am not interested in this meat market approach.
Why
But
don't
I
you put
mean,
them organically, like evening classes, something, a course, something like that?
yoga and singing classes. I think that's
Mm.
a good thing. Maybe like
Yeah.
literature.
Look, I never expected this channel to be SJJ's wife finding channel,
But
but
you have been psychoanalyzed by Duvid, so I thought I give it a go.
yes, that's true.
What did Duvid say about? I have a memory of that, but I can't remember the details. Conobs, can you tell us what Duvid said about Stephen?
I don't remember what it was about, but I remember a session of psychoanalyzation. Maybe um, Stephen is still able to sort of regurgitate what was said.
Oh, it was mainly about like my channel and things like that, and about David thinks like he's the king of micro streamers basically, and has and advice to give about how to conduct a live stream. I think it was mainly about that, not about women really.
Ah.
Um,
I've been really looking into the red pill community lately. The sort of like
oh, God forbid.
yeah, but it is
No.
surprising that Myron guy is he gay?
Who?
You know Myron,
No, I
um,
don't. I don't.
from
I don't know these guys.
Fresh and Fit. Never heard of them.
I mean,
Pearl Davis.
I saw
These
Nick
people.
Fuentes' appearance, but I don't know who
Well,
the
well,
guys are. I hate that
Nick
scene.
Fuentes is most definitely gay, but I mean Myron is as well. I mean, there have been some pictures surfacing of him being how he's very sort of cozy and amicable with his friends and
Mm,
kissing and stuff like that. It's a bit how do you say? Yeah,
full of
I
shit.
mean,
Mm,
yeah, it's rather fascinating. Like I do think there is a certain kind of gay person that
mm.
has the strategy of making sure to say that all women are bad news because then there is like subconsciously a bigger market for himself.
Yeah, look, I totally hate that scene. I think the manosphere is just absolutely dreadful. I was surprised when it um came off the internet on to YouTube. I never really noticed that it had done that until it had already happened. Um, somehow, and these podcasts just appeared, and suddenly they apparently were huge. So like Nick Fuentes was going on this Fresh and Fit one that apparently is huge, and people watch it, but I
But
don't
there's a lot of overlap,
didn't watch it.
James. There's a lot of overlap between this and sort of like white nationalist or nationalist, dissident rights, politics. sphere. Have you? Do
Yeah,
you know Thomas
I don't
White?
really see why. I know of Thomas White, yeah, from
Well, I mean,
OV's old circle.
he's now talking to black incels, um, having all these very interesting
Why?
conversations. Yeah,
Why?
yeah, it's. I mean, it's interesting how things can change. So I think it's just, with a lot of these dissident politics, they always like look for somebody new to hate. They don't quite know who, and yeah, they need some kind of one big force to explain the whole world, because they can't deal that life is very complicated and life is made up of different forces and interesting developments. So I'm not surprised about
Yeah,
the overlap.
yeah. Look, Luke Ford says, what is it now that he says? Disenfranchised people make up
Marginalized
this.
people are attracted to marginalized movements.
Yes, and it's very true. It's very true. So I can imagine the overlap there. Look, the thing is that when you are um, marginalized from any aspect of successful society, be that employment or dating or politics or any of these things, I guess you go on the internet and you start looking for what the answers are to problems, and then you see these people who, and yeah, that's probably where the overlap comes from. But I suspect that many of these people who come out of like the pickup artist scene and stuff like that, I suspect many of them are just liars. I suspect
Oh
that people
yeah,
who just
liars and
made
frauds
up.
for sure. Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't.
these
I don't
you
think
see
that.
the
What was it, Map 40? I don't think he picked up a single woman. Like. Oh, except for what's her name again? Oh, that
uh,
artist, that
uh,
that writer, that woman that
Sure
was
singer or
sexually
something. I don't
assaulted.
know.
What was her name again?
I forget her name.
Yeah, Jesus Christ.
But
I mean,
But really, there's no evidence that any of these pickup artists have ever really had any of the success that they've had. Is there any actual evidence that, like, even like Roosh V is not just an incel sat in his mother's basement? Is there any actual evidence?
well, the only one I know that's in the manosphere is remotely successful is of course Andrew Tate and his brother. They are quite successful, but I do think they have sort of like natural game. I don't think
Hmm.
what they do is very artificial. You can't just like pick up a book and read some rules. Yeah, maybe they work for 60% of the women some of the time when you bring it
Yeah.
convincingly, but then you still have to bring it convincingly. For that, you need experience. For that, you need interaction with women. For that, you need basically a social
Hmm.
life.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. It's look, for somebody like Andrew Tate, who's look, I fucking hate that guy, to be honest. Um, but look, there's some good that he did, which is just like um, making men think differently outside the box of feminism, and he got through to some young guys. I don't know how productive it's been, but some people tell me it's been very useful. Um,
Useful in what way? Like, did anybody improve his actual life by listening to Andrew Tate?
Look, I think there's some use in realizing that for young guys to realize what feminism is and to realize that it has this like grip hold on society and on how you as a young dude are expected to behave, and that really that's not in your best interest to just like conform to it. Okay, but there's then this darker side of it that if you um, that you can start treating women terribly, and that's obviously the bad side of it.
Yeah, but
Um,
I think it's not the specific things that Andrew Tate teaches people that will learn people how to actually get women and then exploit them. I think that's not even possible if you don't have natural game. So I'm not too terribly concerned about like lots of incels learning all these interesting tricks, and all of a sudden they're all these women that are
Yeah.
gonna like fall in love with them or something like this. I think it's more of a problem because he himself is an exploiter of women, and he well, he's an exploiter of men as
Well,
well because he uses these cam girls, and then he writes to these very thirsty dudes in the sex chats. I mean, like, if somebody like cheats men out of their
yeah,
money,
that's all
it's been Andrew
disgusting.
Tate. Yeah, no, it's absolutely utterly disgusting. And what really I'm so surprised that people do actually think his life philosophy is attractive, because he says like you have to all have all these Bugattis and these women for what
Yeah.
purposes? Not to get the women or to get the Bugattis, because they're essential or interesting of themselves. No, to flex to other men. So it's in in
Mm.
in
Yeah,
essence, it's
there's
also a
something
little bit of
gay
a
about.
gay philosophy
Yes.
as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
So like,
Nick
you want
Fuentes
to
is
compare yourself
right
with, like, you
about
want to
this.
muscle compare? Like, come on, like, is that really
Mm.
what life is about?
Yeah, there is something gay about that. This it's almost akin to women who put makeup on for other women. Um, there's there's a certain there's like 10% of makeup is put on really to like attract other men, but like the rest of it is just to like impress other women in a way. And there's something lesbianish about that. There's something gay about dudes just wanting to impress other dudes. That's right. Um, well, I agree that all that culture is toxic. But what I said is like some good aspects of it is to look, as a young dude, you kind of don't realize that you are society indoctrinates you into the mind of having like this beta personality, this beta mindset, um, because it's all about um, controlling toxic masculinity. And unless you have something that kind of fractures your mind out of that as a young dude, then you can really go astray and be disenfranchised by society, I think. And so Andrew Tate, I think, has done some good for some of the guys who source for some like young lads who saw some of his content. But I absolutely agree, it's way too far, and I imagine it's done a lot of damage to, certainly if it's put in the mind of them that they should be like I know, exploiting women, or getting, trying to become a pimp or something like that. That's just fucking
Yeah,
bizarre.
but I just see these people looking or talking these manosphere topics. I just don't see them in relationships, and it's the same for this woman, like Hannah Pell Davis, like the ultimate grifter. I mean, has she been impregnated? She has this huge ass fucking castle, and nobody wants to inseminate that fucking whale. I mean, what's going on?
Mm. Well, I don't know much about it, to be honest. Damien says, for fuck's sake, this is depressing. No helping SJJ. He's got an excuse for everything. Holy
Mm.
shit. Look, I don't want to be depressing. Claire Core brought it all up. Blame her, basically.
All right, so yeah, let me give you some advice. That you give some con ops Amsterdam degenerate advice, like how to meet women.
All right. Hit me
Yeah.
with it. Hit
All
me
right.
with it,
Hit me
Corpse.
with it. You just need to go to their spaces, man. That's it. And you need to go to their spaces. You need to make sure that you have a lot of other people around. You need to socialize. You can't just like go into the park and address a woman. Yeah, work maybe once or twice, but that's not really how you get a woman. You need to be in lots of social atmospheres, and then you
Yeah.
try 10, 20, and maybe the 21st will stick. That's how it works nowadays. You have to go with the flow.
Mm, yeah.
But I mean, you have all these purists like Thomas White. He's like whining about like, oh, the women of society, it's so bad, and like the whole world is crumbling because of feminism. And I'm just seeing him whining. He's just as old as I am, and never had a serious relationship. I mean, like, you can always say that I'm a liberal cuck or whatever, but yeah, at least I I have a steady partner. And I'm married now, and like that's the one sort of like normie you had in the sphere, the one that's always talking about, oh yeah, you should go the sort of like normie way, and that guy is successful. I mean, that should give you a thing that the ideology itself is prohibiting of a normal life.
Yeah, no, look, I don't disagree with anything that you said. Look, it's all about different. Everybody's different. Everybody different circumstances, and look, um, yeah, I
Which
genuinely,
I'm actually
I,
also
I don't
interested
have
in what
much of a
Claire has to
problem.
say. Claire has to say about this. Like, why is it the case
Hmm.
that,
Yeah, pipe up,
like
Claire.
me
Come
as a
on.
liberal, effeminate Amsterdammer, I have this success, and how do you say that the incels that you want to recruit for your movement do not. And I'm not saying like I'm like this spectacularly handsome whatever guy. Um, it's rather strange, isn't it? Like, don't you think that the way the narrative about women is in this sort of sphere just prevents you from finding a spouse?
You're muted, Claire. Can you speak up?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm
There,
sorry,
there.
sorry. I thought the question was addressed to Stephen.
No, no, it's addressed to you. It's like, why is it the case that like everything you loathe, that's me, why do I have everything that should be expected? Like, now I have a wife, a house, baby's coming. So, but the people,
Congratulations, by the way.
thank you very much. But that that I have that, but the people who are sort of like dunking on women all the time do not.
Well, because women find you attractive, you come from a certain social class that women, hypergamous women, would find attractive. You play the guitar,
You think
play
it's just my
classical
guitar
guitar,
playing?
and all the romantic tricks. So you're very good at it, and you've always had lots of women, and you walk with a certain swagger, and women like that. So that's why you get the girls.
So yeah, it is being in the real world. It's being out and in about that you learn these tricks, or
Well, I think
just
you
your
did
natural
have a
vibe.
good education. You did go to a good school, and that must have given you confidence that the people in the chat don't have because they're low status. Most of them.
Well, I don't think it just
Look,
quite works like that.
No, I mean
look, I think
let's be
You're
your
also a
honest.
bit
chat is a
harsh.
service. Yes, I have some very good, successful people in my chat. It's quite a high flying chat here. I
Oh
don't
well,
know if we
George's
have any
sort of a
certified
nice-looking
incels.
lad
I
who's
don't know if we
recently
even
lost
have
his
certified
girlfriend.
incels
But
here.
George was talking about how the Earth was flat, or how we didn't go to the moon, or something like that. Like, try to bring that up in the first date conversation.
Yes,
I mean, see how that
yes.
fucking works.
Is
George's not
George talking
stupid.
about
Look,
flat
he'll do
Earth
that
these
on
days?
stream. He'll do that on stream, but he won't. He wouldn't do that on a date. He'd start talking about fucking astrology and shit like that. Are you a Pisces? Oh, let me tell you about your fucking master number and all this shit. I've seen George's patter. He's
But
good.
by the way,
He
you can
knows what
get a
to
lot of
talk
success
about.
with women with that kind of. I've never been a fan of the
That
horoscope shit, but
astrology
I
shit.
think a lot of women are.
Yeah, George's got it down. He knows what he's doing with that shit.
Yeah, shouldn't you get the babies out,
Maybe I should
George?
learn some of it from him. Maybe I should ask him some of that bullshit. Some of the
Yeah, you're too rational
manipulative
for that
shit.
shit. You could ask. You have to lie all the time. That's not a good basis for a relationship, I
No,
would
that's
say.
not a good basis.
Oh, Connors, don't you think if SJJ had a theme of interviewing for a wife, it would be hilarious?
Yeah, I would be totally in favor. I mean, like now even big streamers are talking about Stephen J. James, among them JF Garipi. But I don't know if that's a
Yes.
good thing for you. By the way, like if he ends up
Mixed up with
like
that
having to
bastard.
kill his wife, I'm not so sure it's gonna look very good for you. But Yeah.
Yes, that's true. I hadn't considered that, but it was nothing to do with me, so it's not like a collaboration that I've done. It just happened, and I just saw. I think the guy who watches JF is in my audience here, Dead Star, because he left a message, he left a comment on that video. So,
Will you be taking evening classes in car mechanics or I don't know cookery or whatever?
me
You might meet a woman if you
With car mechanics?
fucking
No, come on.
car mechanicking.
Well, actually,
What kind of like a
I
lesbian?
know. No, 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 no. Okay,
Like a pull
was it
bike?
was it woodwork or carpentry? But anyway, I had this male friend, and he said he went to these classes and he found they were full of women.
Don't be
It was either
ridiculous.
mechanics or
Absolute.
woodwork, and
Don't be
he was the only bloke there.
hairdressing or something, maybe.
No, no, no.
But
Because
Stephen,
okay,
I think it really works with these sort of like classes, like maybe it's woodwork or yoga, whatever, and then you have this one gay guy, and then there's you. I
Yes,
mean,
well,
that
maybe.
always works.
Yeah. There are these professions that attract gay people, aren't there? So, like air host, flight attendants, um,
Oh,
hairdressers. What
think
else?
about skipping career. I mean, like changing careers. Maybe you should be a
Yeah, you
flight
could become a
attendant.
flight. Yeah, flight attendant. That'd be. Actually, I would love that. Actually, that would be a great job.
It's not even a bad job. It doesn't pay well, but I mean, it's not. I mean, it's nice. You go to different places and you can stay over and have a
Hotels,
good
yeah,
time. Have some
bank.
hotels, bang some chicks.
Yeah,
Good times.
that would be great. It'd literally be the only straight guy in the flight crew.
Yeah, man. You have the fucking plane all to yourself and the toilet.
That is an actual idea. That is the best bit of advice. I think I came up with it myself live on stream right here.
Yeah, I'll tell you this. Like, I know a friend of mine, and she wanted to go into flight attending. Turns out you don't have to have any sort of like formal education for it. You just apply, then they give you a course, and then you're in.
Yes, and I could do all the athletic parts of that. Um, like whatever they have to do, save people out of the aircraft, underwater, that kind of thing, get people out of the pool or something. I could do all that, no problem. I'm a lifeguard. I could do that.
Yeah, man.
Maybe
And
that's a career path.
maybe that's a great idea. Maybe it's a bit. I don't know if you guys fly a lot. I fly a lot, and flying I always consider rather tedious. It's very boring. But I
Maybe it
mean,
would
at
be
least you're
like
in a new destination.
maybe it would be emasculating too, though. Like serving people their fucking in-flight meals and asking if they want a fucking hot towel with like
Yeah.
with like Vincent with Vincent Bruno's. The more I think about it now, I'm not
Yeah, the
sure I
more I
can.
think of it, yeah, you don't want to be a server. You don't want to like I don't know.
Mm,
But like people have their different jobs. I don't think it as like you're being servile to somebody else. You're just performing a service, and other people are performing a service for you in the end. So I mean, it's a bit of an exchange. I don't think people should be servile that do it. There's some countries where I don't like how they do flight attending or waiting or stuff like that. Sometimes they're just too nice, which yeah, I don't know. Seems like they don't have enough self-respect, but I think in a lot of Nordic countries it's fine.
yeah. I'll take it under advisement. I think. Yeah.
So I mean, like, how old are I don't have to know exactly how old you are, but in what range are you? Are you like in between like 20 and 25, 25 and 30, 30 and 35, or 35 and 40?
I'm let's say mid-20s.
Mid-20s. Oh my God, man, you still have the world ahead of you. And like, I wish I was as young as you were. Like, yeah, you can still travel the world, fuck some bitches, right, Claire?
Yes.
I don't think Stephen wants to travel the world to fuck bitches. He wants to find a nice, steady woman, and I have a few ideas finding them for him online and
You
interviewing
you
and
have to
vetting them.
admit, but Claire, you have to admit, like you also like a man that's very sexual experienced and can like like get a woman very easily, and then you think like, oh yeah, if he picks me, I'm that much more special because like this guy is he can have any woman he wants. That's also attractive for women.
Well, yes, maybe Stephen needs to, I don't know, do a bit of voice training for, kind of. You might enjoy that voice training classes.
What?
The
What
local
on earth
amateur
for?
dramatic society. Do you have a local amateur dramatic society?
Who knows? God,
There's a
God
lot of
knows.
lots of sex goes on at the local amateur dramatic society.
Though, literally, those are the last types of people that I could stand. To be honest, I just can't bear those types of people who are like the
Lovies.
people the people at school who are into drama. Ugh, I hated that type of shit. These people who are just full of themselves and look at me type.
Do you have three adjectives to describe your ideal wife?
Hot, thin,
Subservient.
available.
No,
Available.
raise your standards, please. Okay, and actually, I should have said you're
Available.
not. No, you're not allowed to describe physical characteristics. You have to
Holy
just
shit.
describe
I,
character
I know, like
traits.
I know plenty of friends of mine, Stephen Gates, just come to Amsterdam. I have, well, I don't know about hot, but well, thin and available for
Hot,
sure.
fit,
Like I have a lot of thin and
available.
available women for you.
Fit. Okay,
I thought you were going to
we're
say,
going to Amsterdam.
are you?
What do you
Well,
want me to
Connors
say,
will show
Claire?
you around, won't he?
What do you want me to
Yeah, I'm
say?
definitely showing around.
Okay, if you're looking for adjectives that aren't physical attribute, honest.
Oh, that's gonna be a difficult one.
Yeah. Not crazy.
Honest, sensible,
Maybe not
quiet.
even sensible. Maybe not even sensible. I don't want somebody who's boring. I mean
Oh, that's
that's
quite
like
difficult. Honest and not boring. Oh.
I'm honest.
Right there.
yeah. I like somebody who's says. I do like somebody who says what they think. I suppose in this world it's just not a fucking liar. It's not a fucking deceiver. It's like a good start. I don't know, Claire. I don't know what. Basically, you find somebody who's hot and fit, and that's all that matters.
No, the inner woman. You must think of her mind and then
I
maybe
never,
something.
kn- I never knew you thought the mind of a woman was so important.
Well, as a predictor of her behaviour. So I think Stephen wants a woman who's not a liar, a woman who is.
Well, I like somebody who has a passion too. So I quite like like I was really into my vegan girlfriend who's like obsessed with so like these girls who are obsessed with like climate. I could get with a climate activist. That'd be fun actually.
Oh yeah, yeah. By the way, the climate girls also tend to be very sort of like their ideas
Yeah,
sometimes overlap with the right.
yeah. I don't have to
Greta
agree with
Greta
it, but
Greta Thunberg.
yeah,
Again,
don't have to agree with
the
it. But
Hamas
I'd
people
love
over.
a girl who wants to go and save like birds or something like that, save whales or something. That kind of thing. So I
Why
think
don't
that
you
is
join
like.
Greenpeace
So I
or
think
like
that
some
is
kind of like
like.
Extinction
It's like
Rebellion
a
or
It's like a healthy direction. People think it's like really kind of mixed up and fucked up, but it's actually like a healthy direction for a woman to like focus her energies into. I think this kind of like humanitarian side of things. I do think it's like a natural place for a girl to put her empathy into.
That's true. Or refugees. What do you think about that,
Yes. Oh my
Stephen?
god. Actually, I hadn't thought about that. Fucking hell.
I know a friend of mine who
No.
met his now wife in a refugee camp. Not as a
Oh
refugee, but
shit.
she was also a what do you say, like coordinator of the organization. You know, I mean, it does. I mean, if you want a woman with ideals, either that or real will protection.
Oh god. Yeah. What nationality is Greta? She's Swedish, isn't she?
Yeah, she is. She is. I think. Yeah, she's a very annoying Swedish child. Why do you listen to children anyway? Makes you think.
Because we're mad
Yeah,
or
she's an adult now.
stupid.
Just before anybody makes comments about that, she's like in her 20s.
But she still looks like a 14-year-old lesbian girl, even though she's still in her 20s.
Yeah, that's weird, isn't it? Isn't that weird?
Some people just don't grow up.
What about cooking classes, Stephen? You seem to like vegan food.
No, I don't.
Oh, you don't. Well, cooking
No.
classes seem a good way of meeting women.
Yeah, but it's also I also remember when I was like 18/21, I didn't meet a lot of women because I was totally like in a male sphere. Like my job was sort of like male related, my like everything. Like it was like there were no women there. And then it just becomes really difficult. And I see that a lot with people on the internet, like these guys that just don't meet a lot of women. And also you have to meet a lot to get some of them. That's just how it works.
Yeah, look, it sounds bad, but I don't have that much of a problem. Okay, so
No, we're just trying to concentrate your mind about what to look for and what
yeah.
not, and
But
what
by
to
the way, I'm
avoid.
not talking just to you, but I'm talking to like
Yes.
the
Yeah,
sphere
the
in
chat as
general.
well.
Yeah, me too. When I'm talking about this kind of stuff, I'm aware that many people have much more of an issue than I do, like the Thomas Whites of the world and that. No attack on Thomas, by the way. I don't know his situation. I'm just
Oh, I know his
referring, like,
situation. My God, if
he's the
you
archetypal incel, right?
yeah, he's the archetype of himself
No,
for
but
sure.
he has this horrible whining voice, and you just sit there and you
He's like
cringe
he's
at the
committing
thought of him.
suicide all the time. Holy
Yeah,
shit!
you can imagine him complaining about the food or the
Yeah,
whatever. It's horrible. And the thing is, actually, you have to give up your channel, Stephen, because, you know, I think having a channel is the equivalent of being a porn star or something, in public, and people
What?
look at you and no, not going to marry that, because I think you just lose your mystery, you know.
yeah. There's one good thing
Yeah.
that JF Garipi said about like say goodbye to your normal life. Don't dox yourself. Don't get power.
Yeah,
Not
I
worth it.
know. Oh, not right now. It's not. I mean,
It
what, for a
will never. It
1,000
will
sub
never
channel?
be. It will never be worth it.
Probably not.
Promise you that.
Yeah, you're right. Probably.
Also,
It will
like
be
how much do you
tempting
earn? I
if
mean,
I
like
go much
even people like
bigger.
had Pearl Davis, like the whole sort of like red pill communities who got like blew up. She has like I don't know, like hundreds of millions of views. She still lives on her daddy's income. Like you don't earn a lot of money with this stuff. That's also something to keep in mind. Unless you're
It's a
gonna do like
compulsion. I mean, let's face it, it's a compulsion, when we do this.
Yeah.
I have a thought that I want to share with you guys. Thank you for coming.
Look, unless I transition it into something completely different to what it is now, which there's the potential of it, who knows? Like I said, I was a totally different guy a year ago. In 5 years' time, who knows? maybe I could be some like super fucking grifter where people are throwing money at me. I don't think so. But
But how long is the grift gonna last? Like, to be honest, like,
yeah, I
how
know.
much are these people earning? Like, what is JF earning?
Well, I once did a video about this, and really, the game that is being played amongst the dissident right is whale hunting. Okay, this is what the real game is. It's not about collecting the $5 here and $10 super chats. It's about putting out consistent stuff and hunting for a whale. There are whales swimming in the waters of the right wing, and
Oh,
every
you
now and
mean the,
again,
the the ones that Nick Fuentes has to get on his knees on to suck their dicks?
well, every now and again, one of these whales dumps like one of these creators with some Bitcoin and things like that. It's you can see it by like some of these guys don't actually they're not even smart enough to regularly cycle their Bitcoin wallets. I looked the other day at, I mean, it's not huge sums of money, but the guy Black Pilled, who's Devon Stack on Odyssey. I mean, he's really good. He does a lot of content every week. He's doing big shows, but like in the last year, he's got like something like $60,000 in his Bitcoin wallet,
But I mean,
and
how much does
that's on
60?
top of his.
Yeah, but
But that's on
I
top
mean,
of his super
sometimes
chats, and I don't know how
sure.
when he
But how
last
consistent
recycled
this is
that
gonna
wallet.
be? Like, how many whales are gonna come, and are these whales are gonna show up every year? That's also a good question to ask.
Like, yeah, JF has a regular whale as well. Who drops him like $1,000 here and $1,000 there, just like we'll just whack it down on the table, boom, $1,000 super chat, and
Yeah, but I mean,
then
to
there's
live in a decent city, you need at least like 60,000
yeah,
pounds to survive, right? At least, and that's like very minimum. And if you want to have a house and a family, you need more than that.
oh yeah,
So
yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't know. I mean, I absolutely don't. Obviously, I don't make any money. I mean, look at all the super chats I'm raking in.
yeah. I tried to give you a super chat, but for some reason my I don't know account
No,
doesn't work.
no, these the guys who do it, it's the alternate income streams that where they're getting the money, really, the consistent money that you can rely on through like having a Patreon, okay, or a subscribe star where people subscribe, and so you can see the monthly amount that you're getting in, and you can be guaranteed that you're getting that money, and then the shows that they do during the week, it's like money
Yeah,
on
but
top of
yeah,
it, but
that's like only like AA, like what's his name again, academic agent, because he has this whole like
nearly everybody has
courses
a
that he
Patreon.
sells and stuff like that. Yeah, but I mean, like, how much do you earn on that Patreon? Um, like, how consistent is it? Also, there's a lot of tax involved. Um, and that's with everything, like, I think everybody thinks they're gonna blow up, and maybe you blow up for a year, but there are lots of people have blown up for like years, but now they can't get by. What was his name? You remember the Monday Matt guy that got really famous with Gamergate and stuff like this? Or
Yes.
take Ethan Rolf, for example. You think they're making a good living now? I mean, they had some good years, but then they get a mortgage, and then it turns out the revenue is not really coming. There's some beef somewhere, and it's not a
Sure.
consistent income
No, it's
at
not.
all.
It's not. No. Wow. George, you see, this is what we did. I brought Conops on here to bring up the super chat questions so we could just wring money out of George here, and he fell for it. So, George
Thank
says,
you, George.
I feel randomly
Coming
compelled
from
to
you, that
donate.
means a lot, right?
Post stream link. Look, he's paid for it. He's gonna get it. He's flopped it on the table. There we go, George.
I wonder with Jordan if
Thank you
he
very
really
much.
says like, did he really believe in the whole? What was it like? Was it the moon landing shit or was it the Earth? No, it was the fucking Earth. That it was flat. It's like holy shit.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
Is
I don't
George
know the
really a
answer.
flat earther?
He's
Uh,
agnostic.
yeah, I love that. It's like I'm not agnostic about whether it's spherical or not. Like, oh wow, it sounds worse than if you just say it's like
Uh,
flat. If you say agnostic, as if it's a reasonable position, you know.
Look, ever since that stream, some people haven't left me alone. They just can't. They just can't get over the fact that I think the Earth is round. Okay, so it's, I don't know.
I think flat Earth people are fascinating. It's just like they're
They're obsessive.
so
They're
unwilling
yeah.
to admit like really sort of like normal things like a picture like oh no it's NASA and oh no it's this or it's from that and like
They have an
everything
answer
you
for
say is
everything.
inadmissible.
Yeah, the
It's
entire
crazy.
history of space flight is inadmissible. That's like the premise. What is it that Jen always says? That's like the that's how you have to
It's the
start
axiom. Yeah.
the axiom that you start with is that the entire history of space flight and all the recordings and all the photographs have to be like inadmissible before you have the argument. And I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah. What do
You
you
can't
think
even
that is,
talk to those
Claire?
people.
Do you think it's like people wanting to feel smart with the conspiracy theories? Like, why do you think people just?
I think I think they're showing hatred for their government by saying you've lied to us for generations and you know it's a major lie that the Earth is round. I mean maybe they're LARPing, but it's just a way of saying I hate my government. I don't believe anything it says.
But do you think if you really like push them and you say like you want to take a bet, I don't know, 10,000 euros, whatever, you think they really stick by it? I don't think so. Like, I mean, like
Kind,
I
good,
would.
good
It
evening,
depends
everyone.
on who the burden of proof, you know, rests.
Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself. He's here on the show tonight.
Live and yeah, I don't want to interrupt, but just want to say hi and good evening,
Hi.
and keep talking about flat Earth. It's amazing. Actually, flat Earth is kind of old. My new
It's
one
a new thing.
is
What's the newest thing, George? Tell me.
all right. How about this? Canada is fake. Have you ever considered?
You tell me, George.
Have you ever considered that the entire Canadian population only lives in two cities? In fact, there are only really two cities in the whole of Canada. They're both on the U.S. border. Conveniently, Canada, fucking
Yeah, and if
more
you
like.
look at the wavelength, like they're actually like in you could consider them in the territory of the United States if you look at
See,
like.
this guy gets it. Okay,
Oh my God,
take the
man, George! Holy
take the
fuck!
Canada pill.
But it's also like what shit can people come up with? I used to like watch these streams between Norvin, you know, Norvin the Pure and Marshall Lore, and they talked about nukes. Nukes are not real. I thought that one was great as well.
Yeah, I've heard that. I've heard that like the only two places that like a pentagram emerges naturally are like in a meteorite strike or in a nuclear explosion. Neither of which actually exist, or something like that. Some crazy shit. Like, I mean, you can take it as far as like Martin Webb. I don't know if you know Martin Webb. I'm not familiar with Norvin. I know, I kind of know who he is, like a Wignac. I don't watch his stuff, but like Martin
Yeah,
Webb's like a good friend of mine, like a good internet friend of mine, and he's a full blown nukes are not real kind of guy.
but it's also hilarious because Marshall apparently wrote this book about like Holocaust denial, and then like it's the same guy that does the nukes are not real. So the moment that people are sort of like half convinced by his books, then they find out that this guy doesn't believe in nukes, and they're like,
Okay, but Connors, not to derail this entire Koraniyule SJJ Claire Core crossover, but between you and me, Dutchman to partial Jewish Dutchman, and we can agree that 6 million is a bit rich, right?
no, around 6 million is the figure I think most people would come up with. Yeah,
I don't.
most
I
people
don't
search.
know. And so, do you
I would
believe that?
say
How many?
like
How
in
many
between.
gypsies and other people do you believe died?
Well, no, we know that like gypsies are like like Romani people. I think like roughly around 250,000.
Yeah, it
That's
just seems bizarre to me that there wouldn't be. I think the 6 million number may be close to like a total death count, but I don't think
no, but
it's
let me like no.
weighted how they say it.
But when you're talking about 6 million, you're talking about everybody that's sort of like died because of the consequences of the cans and transportation. You're not even talking about the people who are like actually shot. So like if we're talking about 6 million, also Anne Frank, who died in Bergen-Belsen of typhus, is also included in that 6 million figure. But I mean, like 6 million, the people have different estimates. Some people think it's like 5.8. Ralph Hilberg very famously wrote in a book in the 60s. He thinks a bit more to closer to 5.3, because some deaths are very difficult to account, particularly in the east of Europe. So Lithuania, it's very difficult to count how many exactly. But I mean, for some countries, we have a lot of good statistics, like the Netherlands, for example. So it depends a bit how you count, how you do the numbers. Some numbers are more accurate than others.
I think it's a pretty fair and reasonable answer. But like anyway, I think it's not as solid. I think the ground around it is not as solid as we would like it to be. That I'm not going full David Irving levels of like. But you know what? I don't even hate people who do. And I thought part of living in the West was that you should be able to say whatever schizo conspiracy.
Well, I mean, David Irving is not a Holocaust denier anymore. I mean, you should see his latest pronouncements.
I'm not from this. I'm not. This isn't like something I keep up with. I was just using it as the most fucking out there example I could think of. But yeah, I don't want to derail it. Let's get back to.
Oh, I love to talk about the Holocaust. It's like one of my favorite subjects to talk about.
Amazing. Let's get back to finding SJJ or White.
Maybe we should not derail the stream. Yeah. Sorry.
Welcome, Michelle. Thanks for coming. It's not.
As someone quite rightly says in the chat, 50 million Gentiles died. I mean, fucking hell, what a time of history. I mean, like fuck.
Well, that's why what was the father Le Pen would say that the Holocaust was a detail in the Second World War. Because I mean, like, yeah, many more other people died. But I mean, it was deliberately targeted, so that's why we talk about it so much.
Well, I think that's definitely true. That's definitely true.
And I'm like, hey, you owe me like $6 million. And you're like, where'd you get that figure from? Well, I mean, it's kind of hard. I don't have all the receipts and, but, give or take. And that's close enough. And you'd be like, give or take what? I think I owe you like 500,000. And you're like, no, it's 6 million. See how it's kind of important?
I don't know exactly what you're trying to do with the argument. So you're saying that
I'm saying that the numbers matter
because we don't have statistics about certain parts of Europe really well, and because you have to do rough calculations because many of the documents are not available, and that's always how it works
in one direction.
It was historical research. You always do fragmentary research, so you have to reconstruct fragments because, of course, you don't have all the documents that used to be there, so you have to reconstruct things. That's also, I mean, like in every historical battle, you don't know how many people exactly died.
6 million, how many
so you have to reconstruct that.
Yeah, we really shouldn't, like the guys. We really shouldn't talk about this on
Julius
channel.
Caesar and the Gauls didn't take place because
we can talk about that. We can definitely talk about historical battles between.
We can talk about stuff. Look, with Conops here giving the pushback, it's okay. I think we can deal with sensitive.
Well, yeah, Stephen. Government organizations and for any extracurricular individuals, I fully endorse and believe whatever number I'm told I'm supposed to believe. I don't care. Like, it's not like anything, but it's just a thing of like when it comes to question, we were talking more deeply and more broadly. We're talking about like questioning narratives and believing what we're told. And like there are some interesting things around that period of history. For example, there are things published.
It's a good question, by the way, to Michelle. So because we don't know exactly how many people died in the atom bomb, don't you think it's like good to have a rough estimation that's roughly 80,000 in Nagasaki?
And that's fine if you can.
Yeah, but that's your argument, right? That was your argument to attack me.
That is not my argument. If you can show me that there's
because I don't have the exact number. Because I don't have it on the exact number, therefore it didn't happen.
If you want, I can explain
that was your argument, Michelle.
And I'll explain it really slowly. So it's not that, let's say 80,000, right? If you could tell me that on average there's 80,000 people in the city on, like that given weekday, I'd be like, well, that's totally fair. The whole city was glassed. But if you're going
No,
to
no,
tell me
not the
that
whole
like
city was
it's
destroyed. Are you
80,000,
mad? Are you mad? That's not true. That's not what happened. That's not how they
I'm speaking
calculated that.
hypothetically for the sake
No,
of
but yeah,
this
but you should, if you have a
scenario.
hypothetical, at least use an accurate one, right?
No, I'm literally like going to speak hypothetically on this. So if
Yeah, but
it
you should use
happened
a correct
that it
analogy.
happened on a weekday and there was like half that number in the city, then your rough estimate sucks. It matters. But the estimates
Hello.
always lean in one direction. It's always 6 million.
Come on, moving.
And
Talk.
it's
Can't you
6
hear her?
million so many
Yeah,
times.
No,
can
no,
you
no.
can?
She's been
Like
out.
throughout
I can't hear
history,
at all.
it's
Oh no,
constantly 6 million.
I can hear her. Look,
She's
I
been
mean, look,
talking this
the
whole time.
number, the 6 million number is interesting because it was published in papers and like international newspapers, like prior to, I think between World War One and World War Two, things like 6 million Jews could die if X, Y, and Z. So it was a number that was like a meme number that was touted around, and obviously at the end of the war, tallying everything up, I think it just
Yeah.
mimetically
And
was
if I'm
sound to say.
constantly saying that you stole $6 million from me or whatever, $60, but it's always $60. I'm like, you always owe me $60. You'd be like, where's the receipts? Why is it
That's
always
we
exactly
never
$60?
we never said who said 60 million dollars. There's been a variation between around in between 5 and 6 million. That's been the different
6
estimates. And
million's
you
like the token number that everyone's going
no, that's
with
yeah,
right
because
now.
people
That's the one that's floating around. That's
like
the
you,
one I'm
they can't
using.
like think about how do you do estimates, things like this. So if you're
That's not
looking
true.
at
I totally
no, no,
understand
no,
estimates.
because
I'm a
you don't
woman. I
know this,
get
because
money.
otherwise you would have known. If you just think about mainstream researchers who've done the research, Ralph Hilberg, like lots of other people in the West have done this research, and then you just think they come to an estimate, and they don't say exactly 6 million. Nobody has said exactly
But
6
their
million.
estimates are off by millions.
But
That's a
how do
problem.
you know this? How do you calculate that? How do you know that the estimates are off?
The way you're even explaining it, it makes it so common. Like it's such common sense the way you're explaining it. You're like, oh, and then like Eastern Europe, like throw in like however many from over
No,
there
it
and
can't be
toss in a
off by
couple from over
millions. No,
here.
because it can't. No, 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 no. That's not. It can't be off by millions. For example, we know that in Treblinka, roughly in between 700,000 and 900,000 Jews were murdered there, right? And so in Auschwitz, about 1.2, 1.1, and between 1.3. You can do the estimates. Then we know in Sobibor, roughly 3,500,000 have been murdered there. And then you have to calculate how many people were shot. There's great documents about this in the
You're
German
actually
archives
throwing
about the
in
Jaeger.
people
Do you
who
know about the
died of
Jaeger reports,
illness.
by the way?
You're like, oh, she died of typhus, throw her in there too. Okay, fine. Do lightning strikes? Do people get hit by cars count for the Holocaust too? Like, where? I mean, this is COVID math.
You mean people were struck by lightning? How? I mean, what do you mean? Like people have talked
Okay,
about
what am
this.
I missing here? Like, Debbie
There are
doesn't understand
statistics
what I'm
that the
saying.
Germans themselves give. There are statistics that you can come by in other ways, and they converge among the same numbers,
Well,
roughly the
no,
same.
I think he is. I think he is playing a bit dumb. There are things that don't add up, Cronops. Like if you take the
Like what?
world, well, if you take, for example, there's the World Almanacs, right? They're like a standard series, much like the British encyclopedias or whatever, that go back chronicled
Uh-huh.
through times. They start being published in 17 something or other. They list a world Jewish population
Yeah.
pre-World War II, and they list a world Jewish population after World War II, and
Yeah.
it
And
isn't.
you know what's going on with that estimate when you're talking about 1945? They took actually a pre-World War estimate. So I mean, like that is
Again,
just.
like I'm not like actually
George,
debating the specifics of it. I don't know
No,
enough
I mean the
about
George,
it.
Nazis.
My
come
point
on,
is that
we
You
all
can
know they
my point is that you
give
hear
the
these
Nazis
things
their
thrown
own.
around a lot.
So you can take
the
the
numbers
Nazis'
look the
own
same
documents for
because
this. So
nobody
for
knew they were
example, if you look
missing.
at the
That's what it was.
documents
Just 6 million,
at the
like, whoops, we
Wannsee
didn't notice
conference,
they
for
were missing, so
example,
we didn't think to count. We're going to use old numbers.
what are you talking about? So the Nazis themselves said that around their time, roughly 9 million Jews were in Europe, right? They say on the Koher report that they already, that's 1943, that they already murdered about or processed about 4.2 million in total. That's the shooting, the death camps, everything in total. That's in like hard documents.
Where did you
And
get these
obviously, this
documents?
is this
Are they
is where I'd
copies of
These
probably
are these are.
documents?
this is where I'd
You
probably
don't. Have you
disagree
never
with
heard about the
Michelle, right?
So
Like,
Have you
wait,
never
Connors,
heard
one
about the
second, one
Coha
second.
reports? Have you
The
never heard about
Koha
the Coha
reports,
reports?
yeah. Number one, I'm saying is, this is where I'd probably disagree with Michelle. If you could prove, for example, 4.2 million verified, confirmed, like exterminations of Jewish people, then yeah, I would say for me personally, there isn't a huge difference between the true number of 4.2 million and the meme of 6 million. Like that to me is not as I know that seems you're talking about a million dead people, so it should be it shouldn't be negligible. But in the scheme of that kind of war and that death toll, it actually is like it's just as atrocious that 4 million died than 6 million died. Whereas when people dispute and debate the Holocaust, I think what they're often saying is like, nah, it's 350,000 in an extermination, off the books kind of thing, and then a bunch of people dying in the and an inflated death toll. Like I say, I don't know enough about it, and I don't think we should talk anymore about it, to be quite honest, because it nukes FJJ's
yeah,
channel. But oh, is he gone? Oh, fuck.
yeah.
Can we
I
talk
think he
He
about
might
dropped
come
off.
back. Yeah, he
why the
might come back.
atom bombs fake?
Look, I think we can. I think we could get away with talking about that because Conops gave sufficient pushback. Just to be absolutely clear, here in the United Kingdom on the SJJ channel, we are happy to believe 100% the government numbers. I trust my government 100% that they've counted this up correctly. Yeah, look, it's getting late anyway, everybody. It's pretty late here in the United Kingdom. This isn't even my show, by the way. This is Claire Core's show. Claire, are you still alive?
I was dozing off. But yeah, I guess
welcome
we've been
back.
talking for over 2 hours, and that will have to do as the guest is tired and being pushed towards Holocaust denial.
God forbid. Is that what you're thinking? Absolutely not. Not here. Not in the United Kingdom. Thank you very much.
Well,
So,
it's not
yeah.
against the law, so technically it's allowed.
Look, be my guest.
I wish to deny the validity of Holocaust denial laws. It is against being. I mean, it's basically thought crime, isn't it? Just saying you can't say it's over.
Alison Chasblas, the Nazi, she gets a Holocaust denier, which is the worst, a Nazi sympathiser, and sings songs and thinks it's
not
funny.
a crime.
It's not a crime. It's a crime.
It's not a
It's not, is it, Claire? It's not
No.
a crime.
Well, I'm glad I said it.
By
But
the way,
they got her for section 1A, B, and C of the Communications Act 2003.
yeah, by the way, Alison was in Thomas's chat earlier on. Did you see that?
Oh no,
Welcome back,
no. What you mean the earlier one talking about Poe?
Yeah, well
So
said,
Thomas
Nod
did
Junior
a,
in the chat, by the way. Well said.
so Thomas did a stream today, and Alison Chablos was in the questions at the end. So if you don't want to watch the whole stream, go to about 10 minutes before the end, and where he does his questions and answers. And Alison Chablos was, I probably shouldn't say her name. Does that
All
get your
right.
stream? Does that get your stream nuked? I hope not. Anyway, she was.
I don't, I
in
don't,
the
I don't
chat.
actually think that at the moment people are striking things down so much because of Holocaust
It's
denial.
not as
not
bad
really
as
in
it
the
used to
future.
be. You're right. You're right. There is a little bit more freedom on YouTube at the moment.
I think the
I think.
priorities just changed, right? They changed around the
The
V.
election.
And
yeah.
I mean, like, but yeah, I mean, like, it's just the whole kind of algorithm had to be reformatted, I think, to go right. A lot of people lost their channels around that time.
No, it's a shame that Michelle goes. I wanted to talk about the Holocaust a little bit more.
She just said in the chat she has to go for a bit, but I think we're winding it down
Yeah.
anyway. I think, and again, I think this is very dangerous ground to be treading. As interesting as the conversation is, I think you have to walk. I think you have to walk lightly around this kind of stuff. On other people's
Yeah.
channels, obviously.
Well, thankfully, we had our Holocaust expert on tonight who gave sufficient pushback to explain why any of these theories were absolutely wrong.
Yeah,
And
I can
so
only
we've
say that
debunked
this
them.
was not only fair and impartial, but it was correct.
Educational.
Yeah,
too.
educational. That's what
yeah.
it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yes, yes. For some reason, I just clicked on just that bit when Alison said what she said. Shall I read it out, or maybe
Go
not?
ahead. Yeah.
It says,
Maybe you should be careful. I mean, she's been thrown in jail for it, but maybe you could play it on Stephen James' stream.
well, I was thinking maybe I'm going to stream about that, saying, Alison, would you like to come on to Koraniyule? I know she'll say no, but it'll annoy her if I ask. Okay, anyway, she says, I will say this, however, I defended Millennial Woes, which enraged Collett so much that he phoned Millennial Woes, who, in turn, told me to stop defending me. I really am that toxic for these takes. So what she means is, she defended Colin, Millennial Woes, against Mark Collett, and Mark Collett told her to stop defending him. That's
Why?
the story. That was
didn't
when
even- didn't
Millennial
know Mark
Woes was
Collett
being
and her-
accused of being of some sexual
A sex pest.
yes, of being a sex pest, and without even inquiring into the matter, Mark Collett treated him as if he were guilty and said, you know, our ways must part now. We can't have patriotic alternative mixed up in this sort of rubbish, and Colin forgave him and
So
invited
just a
him.
minute.
on
Is
Millennial
Alison
Wo-
Shabloz then? Is she part of like PA? Is she hanging around with Mark Collett?
Not hanging
these
around,
two
but I think she's been to a
scenes
few
were
meetings, and
entirely
obviously it's a very small community, and everybody knows each other. You know.
Everybody fucks each other as well, probably.
I had no idea. I thought that old. Sorry, don't mean to be offensive, but like that. The David Irving Boomer circuit was entirely separate, I thought, from like the PA circuit.
At least I can have a little bit of respect of the David Irving circuit. I mean, like at least David Irving can change his mind as at some point it just becomes totally untenable. But yeah, the whole I don't know. Like,
but as someone said in the chat, Conops, like,
birds on the internet.
don't you think it's really like a deeper thing, a deeper question than getting caught down in the weeds of like 6 million, or even if it was, you know, it could have been 50 million for argument's sake. It's just like there is a tone where through media and politics and various NGOs and using the example of the Holocaust and this idea of like, you know, never again in Western civilization.
Yeah, well, wouldn't you have a movement if the whole community genocided in a certain continent, and then
No, listen, I'm not do it
again? I mean, I don't know. I understand why people are rather fearful of that.
Right. Well, when you say fearful of that, like, I mean, I think overwhelmingly, like the native populations in Europe and America are very, very supportive of Jews and even of Israel in the broader context.
Yeah, they are. But I mean, still you have
the issue. Correct me if I'm wrong, Conops. Correct me if I'm wrong. But the issue for Jewish people in the West, as in diasporic Jewish people who don't live in Israel, the issue for Jews in the West seems to be that the countries that they live in, that are just as much theirs as, say, the Gentiles who live there, are importing en masse people from the third world who literally want to kill them.
This has been like one of the big movements. This is what anti-Semites never sort of understand. So, right-wing Zionists, like sort of like people on the right wing, Daniel Pipes, what's his name, the Batjeor, who wrote this book, Arabia. It was like in early 2000s or late 1990s. Bernard Lewis, all these people, they've been warning about this shit for decades. And then, yeah, I don't know, like the sort of like the alt-right dissident right never wants to listen to them because they're like Jews, and they have this idea that Jews are importing Muslims to, with God what forbid. Purpose again? God like forbid. To, I don't know, to deracinate the race or something like that. It's just a dumb idea. I mean, Jews don't even have the power now to have their narrative about the Israel war. If you look at the BBC, if you look at all the reporting, it's been very sort of biased against the Palestinians. They don't even have the control. If they really had the control, they would have had enforcements, and the newspapers would look totally different, and so would the TV channels.
It is a good point. It is a good point. Like I think that this is partially because they've lost touch. They've lost the grip. I've got to be careful what I fucking say.
Maybe they never had the grip at all.
Yeah, I've got to be really careful what I say. But like, I don't think they have much of a grip on social media. Maybe it's just a bunch of fucking old boomers again who've not realised that social media is how things are actually, how narratives are pushed now, and they've dropped the ball. I think that's probably part
Yeah,
of the
but look, I
explanation.
understand how the mistake is made. So you see a couple of prominent Jewish people saying something you don't like, and then you say, Jewish people are pushing for this. But then if you just look at the larger movement, you see many Jewish people opposed to certain movements. And now I hear a lot of like talks about like lots of Palestinians like, Jewish people are all right wing and they all like they don't want us Muslims and stuff like this. And I hear all these different narratives. And I just think, like if people are prominent in a certain movement or if they have, I don't know, disproportionate representation, that's very different than having actual control. That's a fundamental mistake.
George's device is not connected, I think. I don't know, his AirPods have just died or something, but he's still in the back room. I know he's vanished. Yeah, look. Anyway, we're talking about views that are held external to this channel. This channel is friendly to the Jews and all that good stuff, so we don't want to.
Yeah, but it's also it's a rather annoying to me, like all the sort of talk around issues. I know like it has to do with that sort of like YouTube censorship and stuff, but now it's also become rather difficult to have an honest conversation. I also want to know what
Yes.
you actually really think.
Yeah, look,
It's a
difficult.
trap, Stephen.
Yeah, look, it's beyond my pay grade to care, to even to know or care really. I like looking World War Two genuinely is beyond.
No, I'm not even talking about
All
World
right.
War II. I'm also talking about the whole idea, like dissident right politics and the alt right has been set up to a major extent to distinguish themselves from the mainstream or populist right, because they have this extra component, which is social Darwinism, racism, and anti-Semitism, and these are part of the package. So, like uh, being very concerned about Jewish control over certain sectors,
Yeah.
that and
Well,
that's
that's the
very different.
American
Like
influence. It's the American.
otherwise these people would just be like mainstream populists. That would be like the Swedish Democrats or the Danish populist or like the FPÖ or Front National, who also has said goodbye to anti-Semitism and stuff like that. Otherwise, you'll just be mainstream European anti-immigrationist parties. And there's a reason why the dissident right is different than mainstream right politics and populist right politics, because they have a very different ideology about what the causes are for the decay of society.
Look, the
They
Anglosphere
can make their
sets the
point without
agenda.
mentioning Jews, but they're too stupid to do that.
The problem is the Anglosphere sets the agenda, and it's all in America, isn't it? They have the biggest populace, they have the biggest effect on media, and so it comes from there. And unfortunately, they do have a lot of influential Jews. And when look, somebody who used to go on Luke Ford's show, Glib Medley, once said, like back in 2018, when somebody was saying, "What are all these Jews doing here in the dissident right?" He's a Jew, and he once said, "Look, the distant right is where the intellectual activity is, and so Jews appear. Okay, it's not a big conspiracy. Jews appear. This is where we're highly what's the word? Intellectually verbal people, and this kind of stuff, and interested in this kind of stuff, and so I think that is a big aspect to it. But
Well,
it does
lots of
lend itself to
non-white
conspiracy.
people are concerned about government policy. It's not just a kind of us white people against all those Jews and Muslims. It's like
I mean,
a lot of
there's been a running joke about the old right that there's no
No, but
straight white male to be found in the dissident right.
But the truth is, right, the truth is that Jews are naturally high IQ, high verbally adept people who are naturally also inclined towards politics for their own
All clever
interests.
people
Due
can't
to
resist talking politics.
but
That's
due
just a fact.
but particularly due to a historical narrative of being persecuted in the past, nearly wiped out, and therefore it's in their own best interest to wherever they go to get involved in politics. You can't necessarily say that this is a devious fucking thing, but you can acknowledge it and say, look, these people do this, and so in where this is discovered, it's
It's
some
just
people
confirmation
say,
bias.
some people say that it's devious. Some people say that it's wrong, that they're behaving badly,
Yeah,
and this is
I
where the
would
American scene comes from. The
I
American
would
dissident
actually
rights.
frame it differently, also because I don't think it has particularly something to do with the Second World War or the Holocaust, because I actually think these developments were actually much earlier. They already, like, you really see them in the 19th century, in the late 19th century, particularly when Jewish people were assimilating to the cultures around them. But it also there were many sort of like groups, cliques close to them. So then, yeah, there were certain professions open to them, with doctors. That's why they're still disproportionately involved in like these kinds of things. Scientists, philosophers, and like the whole profession of journalism never had a guild. So this is also the reason why Jewish people went to sections of society that they were not excluded from, because there was no sort of like guild stopping them, you know.
Sure, and it's also the case as well that look, there were a couple of big migrations really at the turn of the century, and then in the middle of World War Two, or just after World War Two, weren't there, of Jews to America, and when they went to America, they for whatever reason, however it turned out, they set up Hollywood, and this is just like a happenstance of fortune that they were the ones who set it up at the time that film and media was kind of being invented and created. And so the fact that they were so influential in setting up Hollywood, which became the media empire of creation of film and media of the entire Anglosphere, also meant that they had this very important story to tell. And so they told it, and they weaved it into their media. And this
Yeah, but
is what people were getting at about using
yeah, but
the
here
narrative
I
against
also
them.
disagree. I think actually the stories that they told in the 50s, 60s, and 70s reflect much more the society than there were actually attempts to change them. So you see that like a lot of filmmakers at that time made films according to the morals. They didn't go very much over these morals, because then they would be in trouble.
But when they write stories, they look. There's many. What do I say? There's many stories are told, often from a perspective of the director or the writer who's telling it, and it often gives like the viewer look, I can't explain myself here, but a sympathetic perspective to the outsider.
You really think so? Like, look at all the cowboy and Indian movies that were made, like celebrating Native Americans being decimated, and making them look like fools. I mean, that was also during a time when Jewish people are very prominent. Look at even in the 30s, like betrayals of black people. Also, Jewish people were involved in that. So I see Jewish people much more reflecting society than they're actually like agents of change.
Well, we'll
Oh,
never
no,
be
I
able
didn't
to
say they were
agree.
agents of change. I didn't say that. I'm not accusing them of having some underhanded thing of doing it. I'm just saying that their natural instinct when telling a story would be from that perspective of being the persecuted outsider.
Yeah, but I mean that's also a really stupid perspective, and I profoundly disagree with that. I don't think Jewish people have such a broad interest in keeping how do you say, all the communities like diverse, and that's why they would never be singled out for an attack. And I don't think that. Like, I think Jewish people are quite like narrow and selfish in some ways in their interest, because they're like just care about their personal self-preservation just like everybody else. And
There's
I
loads
mean,
of
like,
stories, isn't there? Though there's loads of stories, isn't there? Though about like the bullied kid who fights back and gets one over on the bullies and things like this.
yeah, but do you really think, Stephen, these stories are different than in any European society where there are barely any Jews, like Denmark, for example? I mean, like, the same cultural
don't know.
developments happen there.
The
I'm not even.
Romanians really
I'm not
hate
even
the
saying it's a
Jews.
bad thing. Look,
No, but I'm just saying it's not a thing. I think it's also
the
like
one
there
thing
are
everybody
people
loves is
who
this Jewish
are
cinema. Anyway.
pro-Semitic.
Everybody loves it. Everybody
No,
loves
but there are
Hollywood.
people
Everybody
who are
loves.
pro-Semitic, like Joseph Biden, who also has an exaggerated notion of Jewish influence and power. I think it can be pernicious, but it can also be like unjustifiably flattering. I just don't think they have these kinds of controls. I don't think there is something like a common narrative, and to the extent that there is, there's no way to enforce it.
I absolutely don't believe that it's people sitting in dark rooms smoking cigars thinking, look, we're going to weave in this narrative about the Jewish boy who gets his own back on the white bullies or anything like that. I don't believe that at all. Just say that just natural instincts towards storytelling would be from the natural narratives of their own people and the history of their people. And they absolutely did have a great influence in Hollywood at that time. But one thing is certain, that the biggest fans of Jewish cinema, of Hollywood, are the dissident right. You only have to look at all the fucking, like, we've
Yeah,
just had a
but
dissident right festival of films.
yeah, but I want to look a little bit deeper at how do you say, the decline of the West. And I think actually now, like, I've always been like laughing about the dissident right, but in the way that they're trying to get to a core, and the core question is, of course, like, what is going on? Like, why is it the case that you have people, like a culture of people breeding self-hatred for their own societies? And I think it's a very fundamental and important question to ask. I think it's a wrong explanation when you say that's the Jews and stuff like this. And I think you have to actually look much more deeper at all the variables. And because you see it also now, like the people now, for example, who like have the anti-Israel stuff. And Israel is now seen as a part of the colonialist West. That needs to be thrown away and discarded and, well, maybe even massacred. So there's something like much more deeper about our history, that we have developed this culture of self-hatred. And I think we need to get to the core of it before we can actually solve this problem.
Yes, look, Colin Liddell once had a pinned tweet. He made a point, I talked about it to him when he came on my stream, that where he said the biggest struggle, I'm paraphrasing, the biggest challenge for the dissident is not to become a third column for like a foreign power in your own nation. And I think we can see that many people have fall prey to this, and it is a difficult question about what are you up to when you are opposing your own government's interests, and to what extent do you want to see like your own government fall, and what other thing are you wanting to put in its place, and to what extent are your efforts just being to what extent are you just like being a useful idiot to the wishes of like a hostile foreign entity, whether that be China or Russia or whatever, and would that really
The
serve your
enemy is
interest?
within.
Yeah, well, what I think, like a person like Claire Kaw also like symbolizes it. Sorry, Claire, I have to say it, like to a certain extent. So if you think,
Sure, she does,
for
yeah.
example, that the West needs to be Islamized, and there are actually there are lots of people on the left who think this,
Yeah.
like that. Like, they think that the Western world is so broken that we need sort of to adopt another religion, and I would say that is destroying the culture altogether. To replace it, because it's so irredeemably broken.
Well,
Well, you
Well,
need
to
a
do the full
religion.
circle, to do a full circle,
Everyone
Claire
needs a
Core's just
religion.
like one of these crazy ladies, really. So,
I think like she's like the Asian version of Greta Thunberg, but then a little
she,
bit.
look, for anybody who's confused about Claire Core, I once, I think, cracked the nut with her. I once explained it really well, wherein Claire Core is originally from Malaysia, okay, which is an Islamic theocracy,
It's
and
not a
yet
theocracy, it's a democracy, please.
it's Islamic, okay, it's an Islamic
I
state.
mean, they have Sharia. I mean, they have
But
definitely elements of Sharia law.
only for Muslims.
So,
They don't go
so
around telling non-Muslims what to do.
No,
regardless,
they
the
definitely
point.
do. By the way,
Let me make the point. Right,
Well,
so,
I
so she
haven't
comes from
noticed.
Malaysia. She comes from Malaysia, which is Islamic. Her ethnicity is Chinese.
yeah,
And what does she propose in the
the
West?
one-party theocracy. Yeah,
She
yeah.
proposes a version of Islam with Chinese characteristics.
Characteristics. Yeah, well, it's absolutely
No,
absolutely
no,
sure.
for China, but
So
for
she's just naturally expressing her own ethnic interest here
don't be
in the foreign
silly.
land.
Yeah,
I
but
don't mind
I
if
don't
you
I don't
are.
think it's like there's a lots
It's
of
not
people
by
that move to the
chance.
West that don't have these ideas. But I think for Claire, there's something about how Western society has treated her. There's something psychological that's going on that she sort of like really hates it and she wants to transform it.
She thinks it's
Well,
like this
I
wonderful,
see
like this.
self-loathing everywhere, and I didn't cause
She
it.
But you're part of it, or it's like if you're not, if you don't think you're part of the culture yourself, it's like then you have
I am
like
part of the
outside hatred,
culture.
like whatever you want to call it.
I have absorbed the culture. I understand it. I am part of the culture.
But
I'm just saying. I'm just saying that you
But
have
what
to
are the
you want to
chances?
change it, so you don't
Yes,
think
I have to change
that
it
the
because
culture of like free inquiry, the culture of John Locke, the culture of Spinoza,
you're
the
just being
culture of
sentimental.
Diderot and D'Alembert,
You
the
mean the
culture of free
culture of casual
inquiry, and
sex?
the
The
culture
culture of
of
casual
secular thought,
sex.
that religion
You're a married
and the
man now.
state,
You can't be
the,
promoting
the
the
religion
culture
and
of
the
culture
state
sex.
would be separate. You don't think that's responsible for the culture and the success we had for the last
Yes, you
two
did have
centuries?
success when when you were practicing marriage and family values, and then you stopped,
Well,
and that was what
there's
caused
still a lot of
degeneracy.
success if you look comparatively GDP, if you look comparatively how rich people are, how wealthy, how happy,
Yeah, but you're
how much they have.
declining.
It's much better than in many societies we
Yeah,
know.
yeah, you're not looking at the trajectory. You may be still high, but you're coming down, and you don't know how to address the problem. And it's to do with birth
Yeah, but
rate and
you're saying
gender
about some
relations and
things.
labor
Yeah, but
relations.
then a look, there are other people who have your diagnosis, and then they say let's return to the traditions that we used to have. But what you're doing is let's
How are
import
you
a
going to
foreign
do
tradition,
that?
a tradition that, by the way, has been hostile to the West for centuries. I mean, there was always
Okay,
crusade and
so
jihad
how
and
are you
jihad
going to
and
return to
crusade.
your traditions? Shall we just return to burning heretics at the stake? Shall we return
You
to
think
the
that has been
wars of the
part
Reformation
of
and
Western tradition
refight
for the
them?
last 200 years?
Yes, but it is just liberalism replacing Christendom. That's what history for the last 250 years was all about.
There's been plenty of times that there's been a mixture of liberalism and Christianity, and went down fine. We didn't have a problem. By the way, I don't think we have a huge problem now. I think the problems that you ascribe to modernity are the problems that all societies are facing, which is a low birth rate. All advanced societies that are rich, it's just really difficult
Caused by
and
the culture
very
of casual
expensive
sex.
to get children. It's just really expensive, Claire. You have to think much more about economics than what was it? Lashing. What was it? Promiscuous women or whatever.
Unmarried parents
Oh, I'm married. Then it's
of
like
men.
but it's also a kink. This is a kink for you, and I mean it's fine. I wish you all your luck with your kink, but it's not thinking about
Connox, I
serious,
know you don't
tangible
approve, so
solutions.
let's hear your solution. Okay, go
Well,
ahead.
the solution is like you have to think about much more about seriously about economics. How expensive is to get a
No,
child?
we're going to change the economy using
Well, yeah,
secular
you
Quranism.
can do that with any, like you can do that like in a communistic system, in a socialistic, in a liberal democracy. You can do that
You
in a
have to
lot of
abolish equal
different
pay.
ways.
You have to abolish equal pay, but you're too scared to say it.
Equal
I'm not
pay?
scared to say
No,
it.
I'm not. I don't think equal pay is at all a factor in
It's a
this. I think you
sacred
can have equal
cow.
pay and a good birth rate. Yeah.
It's a sacred cow, and you're not going to propose it be slain because you move in polite society. Yes.
Yeah, but also polite society, by the way, is the world you have to deal with, Claire. I mean,
Yes,
like,
and I'm just saying,
I'm also a little
you
bit
are
tired of
so
people having
cowardly. You are so
ideas that
cowardly.
are
You won't even have
like
these
high in the
conversations with each
sky that are
other.
just like not going anywhere. Do you think really people are gonna adopt secular Quranism? Like, no.
Well, they haven't found anything
Or white
better. You
nationalism,
haven't
or
got anything better.
any
You are
ideology for
just
that
full of
matter.
hate, and you keep pouring scorn on it. And I keep
No,
asking you,
but
what's your
but
better
Claire,
idea?
the only
And
thing
you
you
have
can do,
nothing,
which is even
nothing,
the
nothing,
case, which
nothing,
is even the
nothing.
case for a populistic right parties, is you can move things a little bit more to the right. It's not that the populists can completely implement what they want to have in politics.
I'm just
What you need
talking
to do in
about the
politics, if you're serious
problem.
about it, you have to move things in
No,
your direction.
I'm not going to, hold back because you're going to be scared or offended. I'm saying what the problem is, and to win the argument, you have to say, no, Claire, there is no problem, or your solution will not solve the problem.
Yeah,
And
well, I
I'm
said
waiting
both
to
of these
hear your
things, by the way.
better solution, and you're just saying to me, oh, but I still don't like your solution, so you need to
No,
give
no, no.
me
I
one that I
said it's not going to
like.
solve the problem, but because the problem is inherently economic.
No, it's not. It's spiritual, it's moral, it's political, and of course it is religious. You don't have this
You
list
can
of
get a
rules.
birth rate. You
Okay,
can get the
just go
birth
into
rate
it. Go into it,
up
Conops.
in no time at all if you make childcare free, and if you
It's
like
free if
make
you
sure that
get
children
your
have a
wife to
lot
do it.
more, like a lot less costs.
No, get your wife to do it. But you need to send her out to work. Well, ask for a society where men can support a family with one
Yeah, but no, but they
income.
can't
Ask for it
economically.
again.
They can't,
You
but they
don't
can't economically,
dare.
Claire. They can't in now
You're
in
too
current day
scared.
society. It's impossible. It's
No, you're
even
too
almost
scared. You
impossible if
won't
you're
even ask for
lower
the
middle
thing that will
class.
solve
It's
your
even almost
problem.
impossible to raise your children with a two-parent household nowadays.
You know, all you have to do is ask for the society that made all those things possible. You need to restore the patriarchy, but you're too scared of the matriarchy to challenge it. And that's why you won't get anywhere because you actually want everything to change but everything to stay the same and nobody to get
Collapse.
offended
It's
and you
Yeah,
blame
it's
I
the
me.
just think it's
boomer
like it's very
mindset.
unrealistic. I just hear white noise. Yeah, sorry, James.
It's the boomer mindset. They don't understand the cost of things today.
I do
And you can,
understand. Do go to shops. But I'm saying that you won't ask for
but
the
you've no
thing
idea that
that you
a
need.
house like that, a house that was like whatever, like 5 times your
Yeah.
salary
You
back in
have
the
to
day.
abolish, you have
Now
to
for
ban
us is like
usury to get property
15 or 20
prices.
times our salary.
Yes, you
Not
have to
even to
ban
do in the
usury.
1960s there was interest, and then people had they had a house. So you mean there's a structural housing deficit of like in my country like more than 500,000. It's absolutely insane. People are living at home when they're 35. And you're talking about like whipping promiscuous women, and like
Yes, yes,
what are you like
yes, because
thinking
that is the
of?
problem, the birth rate
Like
and
people who are
labor
in debt, people
relations.
can't even get
Okay,
by, people
Connops,
can't even
you go
survive,
and be
they
a
can't take their kids
dictator.
to a theme park, and you're talking about all your
No,
ridiculous
no,
kinks. I think it's
you're
just
the
like
problem,
it
Connops.
is
You won't say it.
comical if it weren't
You should be
so
talking to us.
sad.
You should be talking to people like you in the same room in real life. Don't talk to us bumping along at the bottom. We have no power. You're this cool guy. You found a wife.
I
You're gonna.
don't have any power either. Like, did I ever say I had a huge amount of power?
No, you think you're better than us, but you can't
No,
actually say
I'm
these
just a
things.
little bit more realistic, Claire.
No, you mean cowardice. You
No,
know
it's
that the middle
realistic.
classes won't talk
It's
about these
realistic,
things.
and it's also not as nasty. I just want people to have normal, productive, good, loving lives, and I just don't feel the need to like torture people for my own sexual kinks. No, no, thanks.
Claire
It's
does.
the only way
More
to
than
get the message through. Otherwise, people who think that it's their human right to have ex,
It's so weird. Like you
premarital
like
sex.
it's
It
weird.
is the
You're
problem.
getting out the whip before people can afford a house. It's like it's weird.
So you no, it's not weird because it's all linked to behavior. The wealth, your
You
wealth,
never
is
talk
also the
about
next
anything like
generation.
that has to do with economics. The only thing like you do is like lazy about like interest or something like that.
No, I'm saying
Usually because it's in your
that your
book.
children are your
And it's
wealth.
not a serious
There's a verse
conversation
in the
about
Quran.
how people
There's
are
a verse
doing,
in the
the
Quran that
fact that they
says your
can't get
children are
by,
your
that the
wealth,
fact that they're
and
in
you're not
debt,
having any children.
the fact that they can't support the family.
So you have
And
to
it's a
ask for the
tragedy. It's like a
conditions. You
huge
have to
tragedy, and
ask
we
for
just
the
don't
conditions,
care
and you're
about
too
it at
scared to
all.
ask for them. You're too scared to ask for the things you actually need. I'm
No,
doing it for
you just have
you,
your
but
sexual
you
kinks,
just want to throw
and
rocks
it's
at me.
fine for. I mean, like you can masturbate in that manner, while everybody is,
Let's hear your solution,
hungry and
please.
starving
Let's
on the
hear your
streets.
solution.
While you're fingering yourself with this
No,
idea of this whip in your
you're the
hand,
one.
thrashing the promiscuous lady.
You're the one with your fantasy, but with no solution. Let's hear your thing.
My solution is very simple. You need to return to an idea of social democracy from the 50s and 60s with a very restricted immigration policy. Very simple
Okay,
to do.
okay. Well, you got geared builders, so you're on your way.
Well, we
Are you
are on our
pleased?
way.
Are you?
Yeah,
Okay,
definitely.
okay.
I just hope, like, I hope that Geert Wilders will moderate some of his positions a little bit, and I hope, actually, like, what I wish is that the socialists and people like Geert Wilders would work together. That would be my ideal.
When will you know if they're going to
But I
form a
think they don't work
coalition?
together because, I mean, the problem is the socialists are ruled by people who've, um, how would you say, like, they've just been captured by the upper middle class, and they don't have any sort of feeling what people in the like lower wage classes are faced with. So they care about the environment, they care about people in the third world, but they don't actually care about people who are lower middle class anymore. So like this whole idea that except for one party in Denmark, the Danish socialists, they've all chosen to go sort of like the green, the cosmopolitan direction, and that's set up for failure. So the socialists in my country can't do it, unfortunately, unless you start a new party. Yeah.
You need a one-party state, and you're too scared to say that. That's how you're gonna get things
Yeah.
done.
And how is the birth rate in China going? How's that going for you?
Well, secular Quranism with Chinese characteristics.
Yeah, but I mean,
Oh shit.
it's going down as well. And by the way, in Muslim countries, it's also has plummeted on an unprecedented rate.
Yeah, because they're actually in practice. Women in Iran are on the pill. That's what one of the interesting things that E. Michael Jones said. They actually allow women, unmarried women, to go on the pill. So of course it's declining.
Oh, I
And they
don't know
don't
if
quite
that's
dare
actually
to withdraw
true.
it from them again because it's going to
Thankfully,
be so unpopular.
Is that actually true that
thankfully,
you can go without a
Africa will
doctor's
save us.
prescription for a particular issue that you can just randomly go on the pill there in Iran? Is that really true?
Well,
I don't know,
I,
but
I heard somewhere that
I
I
don't
heard
know if
somewhere that,
Michael Jones, to be
cohabitation is
honest,
quite common.
he's not like an expert on Iran, so I'll take that with a grain of salt.
Well, wait, I'm sure I saw that, but anyway, E. Michael Jones, who's often in Iran, says that they have a problem, and and he said it was to do with a pill, and I think the problem is they gave it to unmarried women, and
So
Japanese women gave
both of the examples that you quite like, Iran and China, are not doing very well.
it is to do with materialism fundamentally.
But you're
And
actually
also
proposing a
their
solution.
disastrous one-child
You're proposing a
policy
solution
that's
for
been going
our
on for
failing countries,
decades.
and you're pointing at two countries as examples that are not doing very well themselves to say to
Yes,
solve the
I've
same
told you what
solutions.
their problem is. I've told you what their problem is. that China has had a one-child policy for so long that Chinese parents are obviously thinking, well, one is all we can have. They're too used
But
to it,
why don't
and
why
they
don't
need a
you
bit
have a one successful example of a society that is now present in this current world, where you can say, that's a country that we can look to for inspiration.
Well, I guess India's doing well. Africa's going
Is
to
that a
have a
secular
roll as
Quranist
well.
country, India?
No, they just
Oh,
don't care about contraception. It's a very traditional society. Maybe they don't hand the pill out to unmarried women like candy. Maybe
so
that's
I
one of
mean,
the
I don't know if
reasons.
you've ever been to India. I've been there twice.
And
Uh,
well, do you know if unmarried women in India can easily get the pill?
I know it's very, very, very poor. So if you're talking like, yeah, it goes well in some some pockets in Pune or in Bangalore or in Mumbai or New Delhi. But if you look at the larger society, if you just go to the countryside, you see poverty, you see extreme poverty.
Yeah, but I mean, in terms of population, India's is higher than China now.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like one party state doesn't help. I mean, like there we have it. The
Yeah,
Indian
because they're
democracy
not doing it
is more
properly.
successful. The Indian democracy
No,
is
no,
more
no. I have a
successful than the one
way of
party
doing
state,
it for
right?
China, but I mean, obviously nobody listens to me. My way of raising the population, it would be to give the pill only to married mothers who've completed their family, and you
Yeah,
can
we talked
raise
about
the
this so many
number
times,
at
Claire. I mean, like, how
will.
are you gonna control? How are you gonna uninvent the pill? Don't you think there will
You
be
you you
like
just you just
leagues of
regulate the
illegal
supply.
pills
You regulate the
being
supply.
made in
You
labs? I mean, they try
regulate the
to
supply. You
look.
regulate the supply, and
Like,
you say
no,
what you
Claire. Like,
want.
look,
No,
Claire. I'm
you
a
say
raver.
what you want,
You,
and
you know, you know what a raver is,
you
Claire.
shame,
You
you
know what a
shame
raver is.
sluts. You shame sluts,
Okay,
and you
okay,
can't
Claire,
do
Claire,
that.
Claire.
You dare not
Easy,
say
easy
it.
does it. Easy does it. Easy does it. Easy. You know, like in Berlin or in Amsterdam, if you go out in the night and you go to a rave, everybody takes ecstasy. Ecstasy is illegal, but I mean, it's made everywhere. So I mean, you can't
Oh,
stop that stuff.
no! If the police want to do it, they can, but they've chosen not to.
And also, you're saying you're actually allowing it for a certain category of people. So maybe the people that I don't know get already have children that will sell to somebody else, and we'll have birth control everywhere. And then I don't know. I just also think it's just boring. The whole
Okay,
conversation is
well,
boring.
well,
You're
there,
like
well, there,
you're
there's
not
nothing to
even dealing
worry about.
seriously
Just
with the
carry
the
on.
the,
Carry
the
on building
problems
your
that
time
are
machine.
now
Carry on
going on in the
building your
West.
time machine so we can go back to 1950 social democracy. Since you're so clever.
Well, we don't need a time machine. You need
Okay, you
like
just
you
need
need
Geert
right wing populists
Wilders.
and
Okay.
socialists to work together. It's going to
Okay,
be a
you've been
tough
saying that for
issue,
all
but
this
I hope
time,
they
but
will.
things
And
are getting
then the
worse.
infrastructure of having enough housing, making sure that life is cheap enough so that
Oh,
people
you're
don't have
so
to live at their
boring.
parents until
You've
they're
said it so
35.
so many times. Your
Well,
time
I haven't said it
machine.
as many times as you talked about
Well,
whipping
mine
promiscuous
is the
women,
solution.
which
Yours is the wishful thinking
but
and
who
time
who's wishful
machining.
thinking? But Claire, come on, you're like one person again. Like it's just
It doesn't
I don't know
matter if
who's
I'm one
wishful.
person if I have the
Who,
solution.
who, who, who do you still have a follower, Claire?
Yeah.
Who is the follower?
Well, I have subscribers and
No, no, no.
viewers.
Who was the secular Quranist?
It
Well,
was a
I've got a new
lady in
one who
America.
gives his name, and his name is Naresh Kalia, and he's a Hindu, which is a very pleasant surprise, and he's a father of legitimate offspring, and he's a secular Quranist. If you go through my Odyssey streams, you'll find him.
Well, I hope you
And he
keep
said
this
it
one
twice.
longer than John Vance or Alex Boudreau. I think they both sort of renounced
Well,
their secular Quranism.
I actually want a
But
married
I mean, like,
father.
yeah, sorry, like,
It's
I think I just
important
have
for
to
it to
go.
be
I
a
just
married
think it
father.
bores me to tears, this conversation, and
Well,
it's not
then
serious.
go. Then
I
go.
will. So I'm gonna say good night, and I'm gonna
Good night,
thank you for
Connops.
hosting me, Stephen, and I'm gonna say
All
good
right,
night to
thanks for
chat,
coming on, Conops.
and
It's been real.
thanks. All right, man. Have a good one.
Later. Well, Claycore, we did a marathon in the end.
We did. Well, thank you for coming on, Koraniyule.
No problem. It's been my pleasure. I think it was somewhat entertaining. We held an audience, so.
Yes. Before we go, I'm looking at Thomas Barton Rees's most
Yes.
recent stream. Why did AA cancel on Millennial? Did you hear that bit?
So we don't exactly know. The rumour is that because Keith Woods is on Millennial this year. So.
Right. Well,
So
that should be interesting.
We know that Millennial Woes had said that the format would run exactly the same as last year, culminating in Academic Agent and Morgoth. When he's put up the schedule, Academic Agent isn't on it, and the slot that would have been his has been filled by Martin Lichmez. So, yeah, there's just rumours basically. It's absolutely certain that Woes would have found Academic Agent another time slot if he hadn't pulled out altogether. So, if he just had had if it was just inconvenient on that day. So, the fact that that's not happened does suggest he's pulled out. I think it's I think it's going to actually partially be because of Thomas, probably. It probably is. Because he's taking it very seriously. He doesn't realise Thomas is a comedian. He's not taking it in good jest. And so he finds it very, very serious. Some of his tweets have been absolutely horrendous, where he's taking it super seriously and saying all these people are against me. I'm not part of any movement. Every day I'm attacked by all these people. Therefore, I am not part of any movement and all this kind of shit. And the problem is that this gets back to what we were saying at the start about the stuffiness of this kind of thing, about these people who curate their audience and their audience's perception of them. They never put themselves in a hostile environment. They're always very careful to ensure that their image is never tainted, at least in the eyes of their pay pigs. And he's a big part of this. And so I think he's probably afraid of ending up on a show that he doesn't control, and he could be faced with potential criticism in front of an
Guilt by
audience.
association.
I think he fears ending up on an uncontrolled space where he isn't controlling the narrative, and he just doesn't know how it will go, and so he's backing out.
Was he on last year?
Yes.
And that went all right, did it?
Yeah, and you can be absolutely certain if he went on Millennial Woes, would lock that shit down and would not ask him difficult questions even, because there's a part of what we were saying. There's bars to entry. There's also bars that Millennial Woes will impose, just out of the courtesy to his guest. So it's not like, say, coming on here or something where we'll just take any question from the chat or any caller. But I think this is what he fears the most. He has such a
so
thin
intellectually
skin.
mediocre.
Well, I mean, that's. Some people think he's the bee's knees. What's without a doubt is his skin is paper thin, and I think
He
fears,
threatened to sue you.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
For just using his image, which now everybody uses all the time, everywhere. his real
Yes, because
name.
of TBR.
It's absolute. Looking
Yes,
back at it, you think, right?
McDonald's.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that it was like
Ronald
back in
McDonald.
March or February when I did those 2 videos, just with a screen cap of him from the video that the Traditional Britain group put on their channel. That's all I did. I just used a single screen cap from that. And
And it was well within your rights to do that.
yes, it was. But when you think about it now, he uses his own image everywhere. He's even done streams about, look at all my books here with all my real name. He goes on the Lotus Eaters. It puts his image out everywhere. And that was only 6 months ago when he was, all that hoo-ha about me just using a single screen cap off another public video of him. But that's all water under the bridge now. That feels like years ago, and it was only like 6 months ago.
Well, I mean, I still can't get over the fact that his biggest idea was that my daughter, AAA, is going to give me grandchildren who will overthrow this system. That's his big idea. That's his solution. I mean, it's so pathetic. I have no words.
Well, he doesn't have a solution. This is the problem. He doesn't have one. And it all amounts to... it's as much of a fantasy as yours. It amounts to give me power and I'll sort it out. Okay? And I'll explain to you what I'll do about it once I've done it, basically.
I've already explained it, even though you haven't given me power. I've thought it through. I actually have a
Well, I guess,
solution.
yeah.
But, I don't want you to equate with me with AA.
Okay, true. Okay, it's unfair to equate it with it. It's even less than Claire Core, basically. It's even less of a solution than Claire Core's. Okay, how about that?
Yes, that's better, thank you.
Yes. All right. All right,
All
Claire.
right.
We've done an absolute
Yes.
3-hour marathon here.
Yes.
Thank you, everybody, for coming, even though it's not my show. Last
We
word
do
to you,
get
Claire.
confused. Well, thank you, everybody, and we hope you have fun, and talk to you again before too long, I'm sure. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye, Claire.